Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Start Dragon Ball, Vegeta has a system. Chapter 81. Isn't it right? Son Gohan asked suspiciously. What? Is it wrong? Keelan and Tianjin Fan were equally confused. No matter how fast Bulma's plane was, it still fell behind. Yajiro guards threatened Bulma for his own life. If you insist on flying to the man-made man again, I'll throw this kid out. Throw it away, his father is Vegeta. Bulma squinted at the guard Yajiro with contempt, not being threatened by him at all. On the contrary, Yajiro's guard was threatened. Whatever you say, let's move forward. Vegeta crossed his arms and looked at the bewildered people without speaking. The plane approached in midair, and Bulma reached out to greet everyone through the transparent cover. Hi. Ha, Bulma. Keelan was stunned. At such a dangerous moment, Bulma actually came to join in the fun. On the 20th, with the right timing, he fired the absorbed energy from his palm toward the ground. He roared unwillingly and then ran away after roaring. I said you wouldn't win. It's true. The 17th and 18th will come and kill you. Number 17. Number 18. Everyone was shocked by the amount of information on the 20's words, and Grand Trunks yelled at Bulma in the plane, dangerous. Get out. The huge Qigong wave shone with dazzling light, covering everyone's figures, and the crushed stones stirred up layers of smoke, covering a range of 10 kilometers around. A huge air wave rolled up, the plane wobbled, and it was about to crash. Grand Trunks stretched out his hand to block in front of him, and yelled heart-piercingly, Mom. As the gravel rain fell, the smoke on the ground also slowly dissipated. Piccolo put down the hands that crossed his face, looked at number 20 who had already fled on the ground, and shouted angrily. Oh, that guy. At this critical moment, Vegeta's sudden hesitation caused number 20 to escape, because he didn't know whether to chase number 20 or save Bulma's mother and child first. He stayed stiff in the air, trembling with anger. He was angry with himself. In the past, he had nothing to worry about, and he could concentrate on fighting the enemy without any worries, but now he actually has a bondage. Sure enough, women are the obstacles for him to become stronger. The smoke finally dissipated completely, and the gravel kept falling on Grand Trunks' back. He half prostrated himself to protect Bulma and himself as a child. You scared me to death. Empress Bulma exhaled in fear. Little Trunks was so frightened that he burst into tears. Vegeta didn't even glance at it, lost in his own rage. Snapped. Grand Trunks gritted his teeth and rushed to Vegeta quickly. He wanted to question Vegeta, but found that Vegeta had become taller, so he looked up. Why didn't you save them just now? Grand Trunks gritted his teeth angrily, and asked Vegeta angrily, they are your wife and children. Hey, Vegeta's indifferent eyes made Grand Trunks stand still without trembling. His father, such a cold and ruthless villain. Didn't you save it? Vegeta ruthlessly pushed Grand Trunks away and fell towards the ground. Vegeta felt that maybe he was wrong at the beginning. No need to do it yourself, the kid will save himself. Besides, it's just a cheap son. Bulma, who quickly stood on the ground and coaxed the child, said, that old man may be Dr. Gero. I have seen his photo. Has he even transformed himself? Everyone looked at Bulma in surprise. Is that artificial man Dr. Gero himself? And the Yajiro guard who was lying in the pile of rubble, said with great resentment, think I don't exist. Of course Vegeta knew that it was Dr. Gero, but the problem was that he didn't even know where his research institute was. Otherwise, he would have gone to camp long ago. I've seen his photo. Although he is not a good man, he is a genius scientist. Maybe he wants to live forever, so he transformed himself. Bulma told the truth. How could it be? Grand Trunks couldn't react. What's going on? Why is the artificial human different? Klin turned his attention to Grand Trunks. Maybe. History has changed. Maybe it's because I went back in time. Grand Trunks frowned, speaking intermittently. Obviously he was thinking about something quickly in his mind. Is it the 17th and 18th that guy mentioned? That's the cyborg you're talking about. Piccolo also looked at Grand Trunks and asked. What do they look like? I don't want to get it wrong again. Well, number 17 is a boy with black hair and a scarf around his neck. Grand Trunks quickly introduced. Number 18 is a cute girl. Their clothes are similar to mine. They all wear round earrings, and their eyes are indifferent. You can tell if you look closely. Oh, girl, Keelan shouted unexpectedly. An artificial human for a girl. Can you also absorb energy with your hands? Piccolo simply asked, all doubts. Grand Trunks turned to look at him. Absorb energy? There's no need for that. Their energy is endless. Won't it wear out? Vegeta asked suddenly, without thinking. If this technology is used on your own spaceship, what are you thinking? Huh, why isn't Monkey King here? Grand Trunks asked, ignoring Vegeta at all and changing the subject. Vegeta frowned. This dead boy is throwing a tantrum at him. It was because the relationship between Bulma's mother and child was not saved just now. Having a heart attack is what you said last time. Heelin quickly explained. Cold sweat dripped down Grand Trunks' forehead, and he muttered, the time of onset has also changed. Feeling bored, Vegeta had to ask Bulma, Bulma, do you know Dr. Nagro's Research Institute? Wow. As soon as Vegeta's eyes were on Bulma, the little Trunks in her arms was frightened and burst into tears. Quote? Vegeta stared a little confused. Kid, can you stop making trouble? Are they doing business? Hey, your eyes scare the child. Bulma yelled, dissatisfied, hugging the child and coaxing him non-stop. Quote. Vegeta was very speechless. How could his eyes scare the child? What a good-for-nothing child, the young one, and the future one too. After finally coaxing the child well, Bulma glared at Vegeta and complained. I gave birth to you a son and you still dare to be so cruel to me, you scumbag. Vegeta looked at the sky speechlessly. Did he agree with Bulma to give birth to him? It seems not. This was the first time he was called a scumbag by someone. Do you know where Dr. Naglo's Research Institute is? He will definitely escape back. Vegeta lowered his voice infinitely, not to mention looking at Bulma. The people behind looked at Vegeta jokingly. Yo-ho, infinitely gentle Vegeta. One thing down, one thing. Well, it should be in the area of the northern capital. It seems to be rebuilt from a cave. I don't know if it's still there now. Bulma hugged the child and touched her chin, but I don't know about his collusion with the Red Silk Army. Do you want to eliminate them in one fell swoop before the 17th and 18th are activated? Piccolo put away his joking look and asked seriously. Ha, am I such a coward? Vegeta smiled disdainfully. I'm going to see how powerful the artificial man is. Vegeta is completely watching the excitement now and doesn't think it's a big deal. Anyway, the existing combat power of the 17th and 18th can't beat him. I remember that at this time, their combat power was around 5 million. Thinking of this, Vegeta thought of Cell in the later period. That guy's combat power skyrocketed after absorbing No. 17. No, it seems that he has to speed up his road to becoming stronger. Just waiting for the system to issue a task for himself to activate Super 2, he is not very interested in the second and third stages of Super 1. Or think about it on your own, Super 1's full power, and Super 4 he also has great ideas. Grand Trunks suddenly interrupted Vegeta's thoughts. No way. You underestimate the power of the artificial man. Bick is right. It is the best way to eliminate them before they are activated. If you can't stop them, just hide for a while and wait until Sun Wukong recovers from his illness. Vegeta heard the veins bursting on his forehead. This useless son. Don't push them up. Let me wait for Kakarot. Where do you put the dignity of my Saiyan prince? Don't forget that I am stronger than him. Stop pointing fingers, Vegeta shouted, and flew up directly. He left by himself. Tianjin Fan looked at Vegeta as if a stream of light shot straight into the sky, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Maybe you don't need to wait for Monkey King, Vegeta can really defeat the artificial man. Piccolo looked at Grand Trunks, his eyes flashed sarcastically. Son, you keep calling Wukong in front of your father with super self-esteem, is it really okay? I didn't mean to say that man-made humans are powerful, they are really powerful. I'm going to persuade him. Even though I don't like him, I can't just watch my father die like this. Grand Trunks gritted his teeth, and soon rushed to chase Vegeta. Crack, whoosh, Dad, did I hear you right? Bulma was full of doubts. What's going on? Was his father also killed by the artificial man? Vegeta can't have such a big son, can he? There is no need to hide it now, let me tell you, his name is Trunks, his father is Vegeta, and his mother is you, that is to say. Piccolo pointed to the child in Bulma's arms. This child will be him when he grows up. What? Everyone was surprised. Even Bulma looked at the child in his arms with wide eyes, and exclaimed in disbelief, really? Yes, it's very similar. Keelan also looked at little Trunks' face belatedly. So, why can he transform into a Super Saiyan? It makes sense, because it's Vegeta's child. Let's go to Dr. Gero's research institute together. Piccolo said the next step indifferently, destroy the androids before they start. It's still safer, now that Monkey King is still recovering from his illness. Vegeta's temperament depends entirely on his mood, who knows if he will protect the Earth. That's right. Okay. Yes. Tianjin Fan, Keelan and Sun Wukong all responded, and Piccolo's intelligence is quite reliable. Trunks, so you grew up to be a good boy. Your eyes are so fierce, and my mother is still worried. Fortunately, I didn't kill you at the beginning. The four people standing aside were relatively speechless. Bulma, who lost the plane, was arranged by Piccolo. Sun Wukong took him back, and the other three of them went to find Dr. Gero's research institute. Let's go and find them before Vegeta. Piccolo looked at the people behind him and reminded again. On the way to the research institute, Dr. Gero also found a few people flying in the sky, thinking that Bulma he saw on the plane was the daughter of the president of the capsule company. He was more vigilant and cautious and quickly headed towards the research institute. Trunks flew right behind Vegeta. He gritted his teeth, and he was even more angry when he thought that his future mother had always praised Vegeta. For a person who refuses to save his wife and children, he is so bad. Vegeta didn't care at all. It seems that this cheap son has a lot of opinions on him. If he has the opportunity to catch him in the future, he will teach him a lesson. Son, a filial son is born with a messy stick. Daughters are born to be spoiled. The three of them arrived at the border of Baidu one after another. Looking at the Rocky Mountains below, it was not a small difficulty to find a cave. After agreeing that a sudden boost of energy would be the signal, the three of them divided up the fairy beans and went to Dr. Gero's cave separately. Trunks followed Vegeta the whole time. Are you going to follow me all the time? Vegeta was annoyed to death. I'm so annoyed, go find other places. No, you want to activate the artificial man on purpose, and then compete. Trunks directly refused. I can't say that I will compete with each other. I am very interested in this artificial man and want to see it. Vegeta suddenly braked and turned to look at Grand Trunks. Now is not in your future, everything is changing quietly. For example, in this past, I am stronger than Kakarot. I know you are proud and even conceited, you underestimate the power of numbers 17 and 18. Grand Trunks wanted to dissuade. HMPH, it seems that I still have to beat you up, let you know. Vegeta smiled, and turned into a Super Saiyan in the next moment. His powerful breath raised a hurricane. The three people who were still looking turned their heads to protect their eyes. Piccolo said in annoyance, what is Vegeta doing this time again? Such a big commotion. On the 20th, he shuttled quickly through the jungle. The hurricane didn't affect him much. He raised the corner of his mouth and looked up at the sky. Come on, you become a Super Saiyan too. Vegeta looked at Trunks, who was trembling slightly, and greeted him with his hand. Facing Vegeta, Trunks felt the energy stronger than the future number 17 and no. 18. He didn't know what to say. He seems to have been in the past that he thinks his father is no match for Monkey King. Good son, do you think it's too much to keep talking about relying on others in front of a conceited father? Vegeta noticed Trunks' retreat and fear, and he became even more angry. This child, it really can't be done without education. I'm so cowardly, his blood can only go forward bravely. How do you know I am? Grand Trunks opened his eyes wide and suddenly looked up at Vegeta. How did Dad know? He never revealed it at all. Transform. Vegeta was determined to teach Trunks a lesson. Grand Trunks is caught in a struggling decision, whether to believe in himself or the one-sided words of the father in front of him. But he did feel the power of Vegeta, this is true. You're cowardly. Are you worthy to be my Vegeta's son? Vegeta's brows were tightly frowned, this incompetent son. Just when Grand Trunks was astonished, Vegeta knew his identity, but he hesitated to speak. When Vegeta couldn't help but want to beat someone, Krillin's anger suddenly rose in the distance. I found an artificial human. Not far away, Piccolo and Tianjin Fan quickly reacted and rushed towards Keelan's location. HMPH, wait for me. Vegeta glanced at Grand Trunks disdainfully, and then flew away quickly. Number 17, who woke up number 18 and number 20, looked at the shock of the knock on the door, and turned his head to give instructions. Okay, let's start to act. Eliminate all of Monkey King's accomplices, leaving no one behind. While number 20 was slacking off, number 17 took the remote control and stepped on it. Just as number 20 was clamoring, the door was also destroyed by Vegeta at this time. Piccolo stared at the people in the institute and asked Grand Trunks, are they the ones? You won't be wrong this time, right? Yes, Grand Trunks responded vigilantly. Keelan hesitated, a little disbelieving, then those two are number 17 and number 18. It looks exactly like a human, and it's so good looking, it doesn't look like what Trunks said. You can't just look at the appearance, they are very powerful. Grand Trunks clenched his fists and shouted loudly. Vegeta asked the system silently in his heart, System, what about the mission? I've seen this person, haven't you released the mission to defeat number 17 and no? 18. There are no missions at the moment. The system, which is used to being silent, quickly responded. Vegeta was stunned for a moment, no mission. There is no mission, why is he so actively looking for these two androids? It's better to go back to the gravity room to practice and break a sweat. Vegeta suddenly lost interest, the artificial man is not his opponent, and Kakarot is still fighting the disease. You hammer, how lonely it is to be invincible. Looking at the quarrel between number 20, number 17, and no. 18, Vegeta felt that everything was so boring. The rest of the people were even more shocked when they watched number 17 kick No 20's head away. They watched in a daze as No 20's head rolled to the gate, and was trampled to pieces by number 17 who rushed over afterwards. Seeing that number 18 wanted to activate number 16 who came out of nowhere. Grand Trunks was in a hurry, we can't let them succeed. The number of artificial humans will increase. The 17th and 18th will turn the future world into a purgatory, if there are more artificial humans. He thought about immediately transforming into a Super Saiyan and firing a Qigong wave at the Research Institute. Piccolo and the others quickly dodged. All that was left in the Research Institute was a pile of rubble, and everyone flew in the air watching the smoke billowing into the Rocky Mountain on top of the mountain. Hey, let's say hello before you do it. Keelan muttered dissatisfied. Don't do such useless things in the future. Vegeta glanced at Grand Trunks next to him from the corner of his eyes. It's useless. Grand Trunks looked suspiciously at the ground. Number 18 is holding up the intact number 16 sleeping cabin, and number 17 is urging to open the cabin door quickly. With your little effort, it's just a waste of effort. Grand Trunks pursed his lips and was forced to accept Vegeta's lesson. Open it. There is one more artificial man. Keelan felt a chill behind him. Seeing the tall number 16 get up from the sleeping cabin, Keelan's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Is he the No. 16? It's broken, it seems very powerful. Grand Trunks gritted his teeth, I don't know that I haven't seen that guy. Everything he knew was broken, and everything that happened now was completely different from what he knew in the past. Whoosh! The three androids chatted on their own, and then flew into the distance, not taking Vegeta and the others on the other side seriously at all. Oh, it's great that they're gone. Keelan's trembling heart finally felt a little more at ease. Tianjin Fan responded quickly, what are they going to do? Where do they want to go? It doesn't seem to be the northern capital. The direction is wrong, Piccolo also said. Wukong, that's the direction of Wukong's house. Keelan, who was relieved, became nervous again, and he shouted in panic. Isn't Gro's purpose just to kill Wukong who destroyed the Red Silk Army? But, will they be willing to obey Gero's orders? Tianjin Fan expressed his doubts. I don't know. Piccolo frowned, and set his eyes on Vegeta. Doesn't this guy want to fight to prove his strength when he sees powerful people? Why did Vegeta, who was quite caring just now, become indifferent now? Look at me, what are you doing? Do you want me to help you kill and create humans? Protect the Earth. Vegeta crossed his arms and noticed Piccolo's gaze. Want to whore him for nothing? Dream. It would be fine if the system gave the task to earn some rewards. But the system doesn't send tasks, it's thankless. No, we can't fight them now, we must wait for Monkey King to wake up, Grand Trunks said anxiously. Snapped. Vegeta had already punched Trunks hard in the stomach, interrupting his next words. I have endured you for a long time. Sun Wukong, he is your real father. The people present were stunned by this move, and Piccolo hurriedly inserted between the two, looked at Vegeta and scolded, Vegeta, are you crazy? What are you trying to do at this time? Cough cough. Klin also supported the coughing Grand Trunks, and glared at Vegeta dissatisfied, why are you beating someone? He's right. Cut. Vegeta spat in disdain, and flew away without looking at the few people. It's so troublesome to teach a son a lesson. These meddlers. Vegeta, won't he go to number 17 and the others? Tianjin Fan looked at the direction Vegeta was flying away and turned to ask Piccolo. Come and see. Don't you know that his father and Kakarot are deadly enemies? He's still Sun Wukong, Sun Wukong. The more Vegeta thought about it, the more angry he became, and he began to vent his anger. And those 3 artificial humans dare to ignore me, but I am a Saiyan prince. The 3 cyborgs fell to the ground and decided to walk to find Monkey King. While Vegeta was flying, he also saw the 3 androids who were discussing on the ground, and landed on the opposite side of them, going to find Kakarot. I know you are still blocking our way. Number 17 smiled lightly, do you want to fight with us? Saiyans are really confident. That Monkey King is also like this. Number 18 turned to look at Vegeta, not capable enough but still so confident. HMPH, the 3 of you going up together. Vegeta was furious when he heard that, and people all over the world were discussing Monkey King. Doesn't anyone know how powerful Vegeta is? Are you trying to be brave? Number 18 crossed his arms and turned to look at number 16. Hey, number 16, come on, let us see your strength. No, I refuse. Number 16 refused without thinking. Okay, let me do it. Number 18 replied helplessly, looking at Vegeta. Vegeta also suddenly said, no, I also refuse, I don't like fighting with women. It doesn't look good when you lose, and it doesn't look good when you win. Fighting with women is asking for fun. Number 18 noticed that he was also a little irritable. Then let me do it. Number 17 stretched out his hand in his pocket, and walked over number 18 to the opposite side of Vegeta. Drink. The next moment, Vegeta transformed into a Super Saiyan. Hey, there is still this kind of operation. Feeling the great change in Vegeta's breath, the lazy looks of the people on the 17th also became a little bit interested. Number 17 tentatively flew up and punched Vegeta. Vegeta directly reached out to block it, and the other hand grabbed number 17's arm and threw it back. On the 17th, he flipped back and forth continuously and fell to the ground. Hey, it's pretty good. As number 17 attacked again, Vegeta was not in a hurry, and the two were fighting together, both testing each other. No 17's fist hit Vegeta's abdomen. Vegeta moved his left foot and dodged to the side of his body. The next moment Vegeta grabbed No 17's leg and threw it towards the nearby mountain. Number 17's legs took advantage of the mountain and rushed towards Vegeta again. Vegeta squatted down to avoid his fist, and then swept his legs and kicked towards number 17. Number 17 backed away and flew in midair. Vegeta rushed to catch up with an elbow and was about to hit him. Number 17 had to resist with both hands. Taking advantage of this gap, Vegeta punched number 17 directly on the jaw. It's unexpected. Number 18 looked up with his hands folded and his head up. The information provided by Jero is really inaccurate at all. Vegeta is very powerful. Number 16 looked at the two people who were fighting together in midair and sighed with emotion. It is indeed a strong opponent. No, the 17th of may not be able to beat him alone. Number 18 watched her brows furrowed tightly together, causing gloom to gather on her beautiful face. Cha! Vegeta and number 17 fell to the ground again. You're better than I thought. Vegeta frowned, and once he hit it like this, he found that he had seriously ignored a problem. Although there is indeed a difference of about 3 million in combat power between them, he forgot that artificial humans will not get tired. Didn't you attack with all your strength? Number 17 put his hands in his trouser pockets, his expression still calm. Hey, Vegeta hooked his lips and smiled, then let's make a quick decision. It's not good for him to procrastinate. Number 17 frowned, and then directly hit Vegeta. Vegeta's upper body was slightly tilted by his head. He straightened up and punched number 17 in the abdomen. Number 17 turned his head to look at Vegeta as if painless, smiled mockingly, and kicked Vegeta's abdomen with his back knee. "Ah!" Vegeta screamed, clutching his stomach. Turning around on the 17th and sweeping his legs, Vegeta was sent flying and smashed into the mountain, and gravel fell on the road along the way. Click! There was a hole in the mountain, and Vegeta came out from the hole and smiled. "This level may be weak. Are you all right, Dad?" The 4 Grand Trunks who rushed to the ground fell to the ground. "Oh, I'm here to help." Number 18 looked at the 4 people standing behind Vegeta. It's a bit difficult for number 17 to deal with so many people alone. Number 16, why don't we go up and help together? Number 18 turned to look at number 16 who still had rejection written all over his face. "No, I don't want to go." Number 18 heard his answer the next moment. "You guys really follow you. Do you two want to go together?" Seeing number 18 walking towards this side, the corner of Vegeta's mouth slightly hooked. "Father, run away. It's meaningless if you get killed, please," Grand Trunks said anxiously. "You kid, do you still want to be beaten? Get the hell out of here." Vegeta glanced at the people behind him from the corner of his eye. "This is my battle, you are not allowed to intervene." "Oh, if they don't do it, I won't interfere. If you want to escape, we won't stop you." Hearing Vegeta's words on the 18th, he stopped and explained calmly with his arms folded. "HMPH, there's no such thing as a team-up, I've always fought alone." Vegeta snorted coldly, his face full of disdain for the team-up. Grand Trunks gritted his teeth and clenched his fist. What kind of rotten father is this? Well, it's very exciting. Number 18 applauded. As expected of a Saiyan prince, he has fighting spirit. Then if someone makes a move, they have to pass me first. Number 18 set his sights on the 4 of Keelan. Piccolo remained silent, as if he had no intention of making a move. "Go on." Vegeta looked at number 17, who shrugged indifferently. Vegeta rushed towards 17, elbowed him on the cheek, and watched 17 fly backwards. Vegeta continued to kick straight up. This time it was no 17's turn to be kicked and hit the mountain. He fell to the ground along with the gravel next to him. Vegeta, who was in midair, directly released a Qigong wave with one hand. A huge Qigong wave hit number 17, who had just straightened his upper body. A huge explosion sounded, and sand and stones were suddenly thrown away. The smoke dissipated, and number 17, who was in tattered clothes, stood on the rubble pile, watching Vegeta fall in front of him. Swish. It's really unexpected that besides Monkey King, you, a cosmic being, are also so powerful. Number 17 stared at the tail on Vegeta's waist, his face full of praise. HMPH, you are talking nonsense, I am much stronger than that kid Kakarot. Vegeta is very disgusted that others always compare himself with Kakarot. This is the emotion in the original Vegeta's body. Vegeta suddenly discovered that since he arrived in this body, he has been somewhat influenced by Vegeta. He seems to hate Kakarot with thick lines. Even with deep disgust. Really, but it feels like the two of you are equal, and it's nothing special. Number 17 patted the dust on his shoulder, and said indifferently. You want to annoy me. Vegeta didn't want to talk nonsense, and directly swung a hand knife at number 17. Number 17 resisted with his arms, and then the two fought again. You punched and I kicked each other. The 4 Keelan standing aside looked nervous, each of them holding their fists. Tianjin Fan couldn't help shouting, cheering for Vegeta. Okay. Come on. Grand Trunks looked stunned. Awesome. I can't believe his father is so powerful. It can be evenly matched with artificial humans. Just when Grand Trunks was secretly happy for his father, Piccolo suddenly poured cold water on the people present. Vegeta is going to fall this time, and the opponent's anger has not changed at all, but if this goes on for a long time, he will not get any benefits. These words made their excited hearts instantly cool down. Vegeta swung his left foot sharply to the left, dodging to avoid the kick of No 17's right foot. He hastily pushed No 17's long leg to the right and hit his elbow on the cheek. The two fought back and forth quite fiercely. Vegeta was distracted and was hit by No 17's fist. He quickly flipped back and opened the distance between the two. Ha! Vegeta let out a breath, and looked at number 17 who was still calm and calm. You haven't used your full strength yet. No 17's calm face finally began to show expression, and he frowned very displeased that Vegeta still had reservations. Vegeta stretched out his thumb to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. He shrugged and smiled and returned to the normal state of a Saiyan. Stop fighting. It's boring. The depression in my heart that was angered by that dead sun has almost dissipated. Hey, it's so strange, your hair has turned back to black, and the weird light is gone. Seeing Vegeta's hair change color again, number 17 looked curious. It's unbelievable. Number 18 nodded in agreement. This is how we Saiyans transform. Vegeta also explained in a good mood. Hee, that's fine. Number 17 put his hands back into his pockets. Our goal is Monkey King, there is really no need to fight you. Then leave. Number 18 looked at number 17 and asked in confusion, is this the end of the fight? The purpose of our creation is Sun Wukong, and he is not the target of our mission. Number 16 followed suit. Dad, Grand Trunks yelled anxiously when he saw Vegeta let them go just like that. Since he has the ability to stop artificial humans, why does he let them go? Grand Trunks clenched his fists angrily. Piccolo also looked at Vegeta. This guy didn't play cards according to common sense. He even played against the cyborgs, and he let them go. This is not like Vegeta's style at all. Has Vegeta grown up? So what kind of thing can make such a proud prince have such a big emotional change? You are not allowed to go to Monkey King. Grand Trunks didn't know what he thought of. The artificial man in front of him overlapped with the two people in the future world. Drink. Grand Trunks yelled, turned into a Super Saiyan and drew his sword with a backhand to attack No. 18. That idiot, Piccolo yelled when he saw that Grand Trunks was so impulsive. Number 18 blocked the downward slashing sword with his arm, while number 17 kicked Grand Trunks away from behind him. Grand Trunks fell to the ground and rolled a few times before rolling to Vegeta's feet. Vegeta frowned slightly. Hey punch, he's a Super Saiyan. Keelan was frightened. Are you going to avenge him? Number 17 looked at Vegeta. HMPH. Vegeta folded his hands on his chest and turned his head to look aside, the meaning was unclear. So, what about you? Number 17 turned his head and glanced at the rest of the people. Grand Trunks struggled to his feet, and Vegeta stepped on his newly arched back. Vegeta smiled slightly, young, not sensible. Ha ha ha. Number 17 laughed and waved at Vegeta. Wow, Keelan was stunned by the scene in front of him. Doesn't Vegeta know that Grand Trunks is his son? It seems that I really don't know. On the 18th, he looked at Piccolo, Tianjin Fan, and Keelan who hadn't moved from the beginning to the end. Come back next time when you have the courage, otherwise you won't become stronger if you stand aside and watch the show. After watching the three artificial humans finish their discussion and get up to leave, Keelan didn't know how he summoned up the courage to stop them. Wait a minute, Krillin thought maybe it was his friendship with Goku that made him overcome his fear. What are you guys going to do? Keelan asked, clenched his fists. Are you planning to kill Wukong, or to rule the world? Down with Monkey King. I haven't thought of anything else in the future. Number 17 turned to look at Klin, and to everyone's surprise, he answered the question very seriously. Why do you have to kill Wukong? Didn't you all kill Gero? Keelan was very puzzled. Aren't they contradicting each other? This has nothing to do with Grow, this is our game. We were all created because of Monkey King. So our goal is to defeat Monkey King. Number 17 explained with a light smile. It seemed that everything was really their game. Number 18 suddenly set her eyes on Keelan, and she stepped forward to walk in front of Keelan. Hey, Keelan couldn't help taking a step back in fear. Hee, very interesting little bald head. Number 18 suddenly leaned over and kissed Keelan on the cheek. Goodbye. Keelan couldn't help wiping his cheeks with the back of his hand, watching the three of them fly away with a dazed expression. Tianjin Fan and Piccolo were also stunned. The android kissed Kling. Quote exclamation mark quote. Keelan rubbed his cheeks and felt the fiery eyes of the two. His face flushed instantly, and he yelled awkwardly, "Don't look at me with such strange eyes." Strange, why didn't they kill us? Tianjin Fan returned to his serious face again, and turned to look at Piccolo. Get up. Vegeta moved his foot away, looked at Grand Trunks who was lying on the ground, and shouted. Grand Trunks stared at Vegeta as if he was staring at an enemy. Maybe, They don't think it's necessary to kill us because we are not their opponents at all. Piccolo felt humiliated when he said this. They are too strong and have surpassed our imagination. Yes, you all go up to deliver food. Vegeta folded his chest, ignoring Grand Trunk's eyes, and praised Piccolo for his truthfulness. Trunks can kill Frieza in one go. But it can't do anything to the android. Tianjin Fan lowered his head, gnashing his teeth. He is much weaker than anyone present, so he is not reconciled. Full of dissatisfaction. To tell you the truth, even Vegeta, Tianjin Fan's words paused. He was about to say that Vegeta couldn't beat them, but the next moment he felt Vegeta's death sight warning. Those artificial humans are different from my time. Grand Trunks also discovered that the androids of this era have more human expressions and are more powerful than those of that era. The cyborgs of my time were not that powerful at all, and I can barely handle it by myself. Hey, the future is gloomy. Tianjin Fan began to feel a little depressed. What else can we do? Go to Wukong's house first, and let them move to another place. Piccolo ordered, seeing that they were all listless. No matter what, we still have to heal his illness. Well, Nappak, what are your plans? Keelan also asked casually. Piccolo moved his eyes to the sky unconsciously. It seems that you have a solution. Let's talk about it and listen to it, and discuss it with your companions. Keelan hoped that Piccolo would have a good solution. Who made Piccolo's IQ the highest among this group of people? He has the most ideas. Companion, it's not a big deal. When did I become your companion? I am a demon, and I use you to conquer the world. Hearing Klin's words from his companion, Piccolo yelled angrily instantly, and flew straight into the sky after he shouted. ... Keelan was speechless. You guys go on and on, I'm leaving. Vegeta put his eyes on Grand Trunks. You, come with me. Next, he will teach this brat a lesson. Dad, I refuse. Grand Trunks didn't even look at Vegeta. He turned his head to look at Krillin and said angrily, let's go to Monkey King first. Vegeta felt great shame, his cheap son. Forget it, I don't want the crooked one, I still pick up the small one, and sure enough, the child still has to start from a young age. Thinking about it, Vegeta spat in disdain, and flew high into the sky and turned into a streamer. Vegeta was flying aimlessly like this. He asked the system if there was any mission, but the system was still lifeless. Vegeta had to think for himself. Maybe he should find a way to reach the full power form of Super Saiyan 1, otherwise he couldn't even beat a few artificial humans. By the way, there will be Sharu in the follow-up. What is the combat power of Cell at the full stage? It seems to be 35 billion. In what Cell game held later, he had the impression that Cell came back to life as high as 600 billion. Vegeta stood on an isolated island, looking at the boundless sea, screaming with all his might, "System, die! 600 million. I have worked hard for so long, and now the Super 1 combat power is only about 10 billion. At this moment, Vegeta can only describe himself as rubbish, and a deep sense of frustration hits Vegeta's heart. In the world of Dragon Ball, the fighting power is really amazing. He who has always stood in the Cloud Altar, when was he hit to such a field? No one can stop me from becoming stronger. I want to become stronger, stronger. Ah! Vegeta yelled at the boundless sea again, and the air waves erupting from him split the sea in half, exposing the wet bottom. As Vegeta's aura gradually became stronger, the ground of the isolated island under his feet cracked inch by inch until it was crushed into gravel. I've fallen, and I'm so dependent on the dog system. Vegeta spat in disgust. He closed his eyes and crossed his legs in midair, and began to meditate. On the other side, Tianjin Fan, Kling and Grand Trunks flew towards Monkey King's home. On the way, they also said that Piccolo would go to Tianshan and merge with him. With the effect of heart disease medicine, Sun Wukong would need 10 days to wake up. Piccolo did indeed, as Keelan said, went to the temple to find the gods to explain his intentions, but the gods needed a reason to make up their minds. The three cyborgs on the 17th also snatched a car along the way, and set off for Monkey King's house by car. Tianjin Fan was worried that Jiaozi would bid farewell to Keelan and Grand Trunks, and the remaining two continued to fly towards Monkey King's home. The two soon told Chi-Chi and Yamcha what happened, and transferred Monkey King to the plane to take refuge on the island of Guaxianren. And Sun Wuhan just caught up with this moment after sending Bulma home. Several people kept discussing on the spaceship, until Bulma called to inform that someone in the village to the west had picked up an aircraft on a nearby mountain. That aircraft is the time machine that Grand Trunks rides on, and it's broken. The confirmed Grand Trunks was very surprised, and he wanted to go to investigate. Gohan gathered with Grand Trunks and Bulma near Area 1050 in the west. After finding the aircraft and confirming it, it was indeed the same time machine. And this time machine arrived here in the future 3 years after Grand Trunks set off from Earth. The time machine has been in this place for 4 years, so it was covered with moss. And Grand Trunks thinks that the great changes in the past were caused by the things in this time machine. The three of them soon discovered the eggshell inside the corroded transparent cover, and Sun Wuhan followed the movement to find an empty shell that had just retreated. The god who has been observing the world in the temple also saw a picture that made his eyes widen. He saw a monster. Shijijia town, which is near the place where the time machine landed, has completely lost contact, and the entire town's residents have disappeared. This news spread to the ears of everyone on Guaxianren Island in the next moment. Under Bobo's reluctance, the god solemnly agreed to Piccolo's request to fit with him. The next moment, Piccolo rushed to Shijijia town to see the monster said by the gods. Shocked by Piccolo, the monster told Piccolo that he was Piccolo's brother. Far away on Guaxianren Island, everyone noticed not only the anger of Frieza, but also the anger of Frieza's father, and even the anger of Monkey King and Piccolo. Even Vegeta's breath is there. On the isolated island in the sea, Vegeta suddenly opened his eyes, and he also noticed, this is Cell. HMPH, it's none of my business. Vegeta closed his eyes again. He had to continue to meditate, and try to get his Super 1 to full power state as soon as possible. Piccolo and the monster started a mutual tentative battle. The other side felt the vibration of the atmosphere. Number 17 was surprised. The 16th tells the 17th that near them far to the west, one of the two men fighting is as powerful as the 17th. Number 17 proudly expressed disbelief. The humanoid monster told Piccolo that he must absorb the essence of life in order to become a perfect body. That's why he attacked humans. The monster admits that he never came here by time machine, and he even revealed that he knows Monkey King's unique move, Kampai Qigong. Piccolo deliberately showed weakness and pretended to be invincible, so he learned from the mouth of the monster that he was also an artificial human named Celu. It was created by Dr. Gero with a computer. Dr. Gero was researching and manufacturing humans a long time ago, and he synthesized the collected systems of skilled fighters. Dr. Gero gave up because it took too long, but the computer didn't stop working. The spy robot in the form of a little bee secretly collected and imported all the cells of Monkey King, Piccolo, Frieza, his father, Vegeta and others into the computer. The computer is in the basement of the institute. In order to be able to sit in the time machine, Sharu let himself degenerate into an egg, and the egg needs to go underground for 3 years before it can mature. Sharu said in detail that if he only absorbs the life essence of human beings, it is not enough to become a perfect body. He needs to synthesize 2 important special life forms. The computer shows that the 2 special life forms are number 17 and no. 18. That's why Cell came back from the future, because in his time, 17 and 18 were already killed by Trunks. But luckily, he knows Trunks has a time machine, so here he is. After Piccolo inquired about the news, he stopped pretending. Shalu realized that he had been tricked after belatedly, but he also got good news. Piccolo and the gods are combined, then the Dragon Balls on the earth will no longer exist. The dead will not be able to be resurrected. At this time, Grand Trunks and Kling also rushed to the battle. When Shalu triumphantly told him that he would also use Sun Wukong's Vitality Bomb, he also learned from Keelan's words that Monkey King is not dead. Shalu used Tianjin Fan's Taiyang Fist unexpectedly, and escaped when the 3 of them couldn't open their eyes. Sharu will also hold his breath so that no one can find him. Sharu intends to avoid them for the time being, and absorb as much human energy as possible to increase his own strength, until he surpasses number 17 in them, and then finds a chance to merge with them. Piccolo was also extremely annoyed that he didn't kill Cell in the first place, which gave him a chance to escape. He would never let Cell have a chance to become a perfect body. Everyone discussed and decided to split up. Grand Trunks and Kling went to Dr. Gero's original research institute to destroy the basement. Coincidentally, Grand Trunks accidentally discovered the blueprint of No. 17. At this time, Grand Trunks told Kling to bring the blueprint to Bulma, and he wanted to find Vegeta to practice together. Vegeta stood on the top of the rocky mountain. He sat cross-legged, his bristling hair swayed slightly by the howling cold wind, but Vegeta's figure remained motionless. Grand Trunks flew from a distance and landed behind him, and he said cautiously, "Dad. Go away." Vegeta snorted coldly. "Now that I thought of coming to him, why did I go so early? He doesn't have this kind of son." "No, Dad, I was." Grand Trunks was a little scared, and he only refused at the time. He knew he was wrong, his father had such strong self-esteem, but he was rejected by him in front of everyone. "Go away," Vegeta yelled impatiently. "What are you calling Dad? He doesn't have such a big son, he knows to call Sun Wukong all day long. Sun Wukong, why don't you go find him?" Grand Trunks retreated helplessly to the rocky mountain aside, staring at Vegeta's figure in a daze. "There is a huge difference between getting along with my father and getting along with my mother." After receiving the design drawings sent by Keelan, Bulma and Brive also started to study. Piccolo and Tianjin Fan searched around, trying to find Sharu, who was hiding in the dark and secretly sucking humans. At this point, the game of chasing me has officially begun. But every time a few of them rushed to the scene, they were always one step late. 3 days later, everyone saw the news on TV, and Tianjin Fan flew a plane to the big town where the accident happened, looking for Shalu. At the same time, Sun Wukong also woke up at this moment. Sun Wukong, who woke up, told Chi-Chi that he already knew what had happened, and the current situation was not optimistic, and he could not rest on the couch. He decided to continue to practice, to surpass the Super Saiyan. But the current time is urgent, so he decided to take Sun Wufan to the spiritual time room. A year in that time is only a short day in the reality outside. Sun Wukong with Sun Wuhan quickly teleported to the front of Grand Trunks. Vegeta was still sitting cross-legged with the top of the rock, meditating. Wukong, Grand Trunks, who was sitting on the top of another mountain, happily turned to look at Monkey King. Monkey King woke up, and his mother's special medicine really worked. "How is the special training going?" Sun Wukong asked curiously. "No, my father thinks I'm in the way," Grand Trunks replied awkwardly. For 3 days, he just sat there motionless. Big Trunks looked at Vegeta's figure and sighed helplessly. As expected of Vegeta, I seem to have vaguely seen the distant future of Super Saiyan. Sun Wukong's realm is higher, and he feels more deeply when he looks at Vegeta's back. "What's the matter? Don't bother me." Vegeta felt that Monkey King had fallen behind him, closing his eyes and uttering an extremely impatient voice. "Let me tell you, there is a place that is good for cultivation." Monkey King's hair was swaying in the cold wind. Vegeta was a little dazed. A place that is good for cultivation, could it be? "There is a room in the temple, staying in it for 1 day is equivalent to practicing for 1 year." Just as Vegeta thought of this, Monkey King had already finished speaking. Vegeta's heart was surging wildly. Why didn't he think of this? He wasted 3 days in vain. No, he remembered that the time room can only be used for a maximum of 48 hours. If this time is exceeded, the door of the time room will disappear. 2 people can go in that house at a time. You and Trunks go in first, and when you come out, I will go in with Gohan. Monkey King quickly arranged things. On the 17th, the 3 artificial people finally drove to Monkey King's house, but they found that the building was empty and no one was there. With the information provided on the 16th, the 3 decided to go to the nearest island of Guaxianren. Monkey King and Vegeta have also arrived at the temple with their sons. After some communication between Sun Wukong and Bobo, he took the 4 of Vegeta and made an introduction while walking. "Bathrooms, toilets, food and beds are all available, let's practice hard." Vegeta frowned and looked at Sun Wukong, still couldn't help asking the doubts in his heart. Why did you bring me to such a good place? It was rare for Sun Wukong to have a serious face. You can't deal with the enemy with your own strength alone, you should know that. Vegeta was stunned for a moment. This guy. Kakarot, aren't you afraid that I will surpass you and always walk ahead of you? Vegeta looked at Monkey King jokingly. It's here, Who will go in first? Bobo stopped at the door of a room and asked everyone. Vegeta and Trunks go in first. Monkey King didn't answer Vegeta's question, but turned to look at Bobo. Wukong, let's go first. Grand Trunks nodded at Monkey King. Bobo opened the door and let the two of them in. Monkey King shouted to Grand Trunks outside the door, "Come on." Snapped. The door of the room was closed, and Vegeta looked around. Is it the spiritual time room? It was a strange and somewhat familiar place. Of course, familiarity is only the familiarity of reading books and watching anime. Ah, it's so hot. The air is very thin, and the gravity feels several times stronger. As soon as he entered the door, Grand Trunks kept expressing his feelings. And everything here has only one color, all white. The next moment, Grand Trunks saw a vast expanse of whiteness outside. Oh, what's going on here? There is nothing. Just a space. Infinite space. It is said that Wukong couldn't bear it in less than a month before. Is it because of this reason? Grand Trunks stared at it in disbelief. Vegeta looked at this big Trunks who had never seen the world and got angry, and he sneered with disdain. I can't feel the breath of the outside here. Once the door here is closed, it is another country. Really, everyone can't feel their chi anymore. Grand Trunks walked around in the white world. Huh, don't run around, you will get lost by then, and you will die in it. Vegeta watched him go further and further, and cursed with hatred. Although he doesn't want to admit that he doesn't like this son, but how can I say, this brat has his blood on his body. Grand Trunks paused. Vegeta's words were very hurtful, but he could hear the deep concern. In this space, the temperature varies between 50 degrees Celsius and -40 degrees. Vegeta immediately looked at Grand Trunks, took off his coat and put on a vest, snorting coldly. The air is also 4/1 of the outside, but the gravity is 4 times that of the outside. Quote. After listening to Vegeta's rare introduction in such detail, Grand Trunks couldn't understand it. The father in front of me seems to fit well with some of what my mother said. He is a bad person, but he can also protect his shortcomings, and sometimes he is rare and gentle and caring. Hee. Seeing Grand Trunks turning around obediently, Vegeta ignored him. Vegeta looked down at his hands, and slowly clenched his fists. This time, he could quickly improve his combat power without relying on the system. Quote. Grand Trunks secretly looked at Vegeta in front of him. He's going to stay in this place with his dad for a year. Vegeta glanced at Grand Trunks from the corner of his eye. How could Vegeta fail to notice him? I don't want my son to be worse than Kakarot's son. Yes, Dad. Grand Trunks responded quickly. Although this kind of words sounded very strong, he felt that this was another way of Vegeta caring for him. Is this a different kind of fatherly love? Vegeta sat on the steps and began to think. After several days of meditation, he more or less reached the threshold for the full power form. Vegeta is confident that it won't take long for him to take the last step. Super Saiyan 1 is 50 times stronger than normal, which means that his current strongest combat power is about 10 billion. This still needs to be added after the battle with the 17th, and the recent gains from meditation. Then the full power of the first level of Super Saiyan is estimated to be 80 times the normal strength, which means that when he reaches full power, his combat power is only 16 billion. Nami and Ziji Mu Qian 2001 de Chong Tai Zan Do Li Suan De Wa, Shang Yao Zan Do Li Zui Chang Dao 100 Yi, Nami Ziji de Chong Tai Zan Do Li Ju Yao Dao 1 Yi 2 Qian 500 Won. Quote. The normal combat power directly increases by 1 million. He remembered that when the original Kakarot was Super 1 full power, it seemed that the strongest combat power was 100 billion. Phew, then he must be stronger than Kakarot. Nami Ju Ji Jia Chong Tai Zan Do Li 2 Yi, Chao 1 Ju Shi 100 Yi Zan Do Li, Chao 1 Quan Gong Lu Ju Shi 160 Yi. In addition, the combat power of Super Saiyan 2 is twice that of Super Saiyan 1, which is 100 times that of normal. In the perfect peak state, the strength is 150 times that of normal. Super 2 is 200 billion, perfect peak is 300 billion. The 200 billion with Cell can fight, that is, the fighting power of Lightning Cell is as high as 600 billion in the later stage. Vegeta's frown is so frown that it can kill a fly. The logic is clear, but the problem is again, how to make the idea become a reality. began to activate through the blood vessels of the system, and Vegeta also found that the blood in the body. There is indeed a kind of S-cell set up by Akira Toriyama, and the production of this thing can greatly improve combat effectiveness. To put it simply, the more active this kind of S-cells is, the faster his fighting power will increase. The activity of S-cells must be stimulated to a certain extent with emotional stimulation such as anger to stimulate S-cells, and then it will increase instantly. Vegeta didn't find it difficult. In his previous life, he was able to become a peak mercenary that everyone dreaded just by relying on his own groping. Even in this world of Dragon Ball, where the fighting power has collapsed, he can thrive. He can do it even without the system. Forget it, no matter how much you think, it's better to act directly. First let yourself maintain the form of Super Saiyan 1 at all times. Drink. Vegeta stood up, clenched his fists and let out a violent roar. The light yellow flames all over his body ignited, and his hair turned yellow directly. The next moment Vegeta restrained all the arrogance on his body. At this time, Vegeta noticed that Trant had been staring at him. Seeing this stupid cheap son, Vegeta suddenly became angry again. You, become a Super Saiyan. Vegeta looked at Grand Trunks, his tone full of orders. Okay, Dad. Grand Trunks reacted belatedly, and quickly transformed. You must know that the father before today would not talk to him for a long time, and he would just get out of the way. And then, what do I need to do? Dad, walking to Vegeta's side, Grand Trunks asked. At this time, he also imitated Vegeta's appearance and restrained his arrogance. Seeing his subconscious imitation, Vegeta lost his mind for a moment. In fact, this child. When I was training with Vegeta, I took the same detour as Vegeta. Vegeta's ears suddenly turned red. Grand Trunks is actually still a child. Is he demanding too much of this child? After all, he is only in his teens and doesn't understand the world, so it is understandable that he will live so hard in the future and not be able to talk cutely. Even Vegeta didn't know, unknowingly, he was influenced by Bulma and Grand Trunks, which drove his emotions that had been dusty for many years. Until you can break through the Super Saiyan, you have to keep fighting with me in your current state. As Vegeta said, he rushed over and punched Grand Trunks on the cheek. Although this son is justifiable, I didn't say I couldn't teach him a lesson. Well, Grand Trunks fell to the ground and slid several meters away by this punch. Get up, Vegeta yelled dissatisfiedly, my son can't give up easily. In this way, Vegeta beat Grand Trunks violently from time to time to vent his troubles in cultivation. A month passed quickly, and Vegeta had some understanding of this unknown S-cell. While Vegeta was meditating, he felt the ki of Grand Trunks suddenly grow stronger. When Vegeta opened his eyes, he saw the muscles of the big Turks not far away in front of him were rapidly expanding, and his whole body was bulging like more inflated. This is the second phase of Super Saiyan 1. You look like this. Vegeta frowned. Although the muscles have become more developed and the combat power has also increased, it hinders the speed. Vegeta looked at Grand Trunks, who raised the corners of his mouth and wanted to laugh. Sky has great strength, but you can't touch your opponent at all. What's the use of you becoming like this? It will also consume too much energy. Although it is stronger than ordinary Super Saiyans, it consumes energy very quickly and cannot last at all. Change back, Vegeta said seriously. Huh, Grand Trunks blinked, and he was mercilessly thrown cold water before he started to feel happy. Vegeta didn't expect that this kid would go the same way. He frowned and tried to explain patiently. Your change of form like this is just sacrificing your own speed to make your strength stronger, and it won't play a big role. Vegeta didn't feel ashamed at all. Although this knowledge was summed up by other Dragon Ball fans and officially announced, who let him know. Why, who told him to time travel? You can describe your state just now as the second form of Super Saiyan 1, but this is a misunderstanding. Since it is a misunderstanding, it must be wrong. I think there is a more perfect state. Then Dad, have you reached this perfect state now? Grand Trunks said excitedly. These days, he has also gradually figured out Vegeta's temper, good face, strong self-esteem. In short, it is right to flatter wildly when you get the chance. Of course, Vegeta could hear his flattery, and he said with a little more patience, I currently call this perfect form Super Saiyan Full Power. This form can not only burst out powerful power, but also display faster speed. There will be no excessive consumption of energy. From my experience, this full power form is the most perfect state of Super Saiyan 1. Except for his son Trunks, Vegeta would never tell anyone about this kind of thing. Under Vegeta's explanation, Grand Trunks quickly showed a look of enlightenment. So that's it. So, how can I reach full power? Vegeta really wanted to swear at his mother. If he could become full power, he would have shown it directly, and would he be talking to Grand Trunks here? Then get used to the transformation of Super Saiyan like now and slowly achieve it. Or do you have to rely on other cultivation methods? Seeing the gloomy look on Vegeta's face, Grand Trunks knew without thinking that Vegeta hadn't managed to reach the full power of Super 1 yet. Originally, he wanted to ask if there was a Super Saiyan 1, would there be a Super Saiyan 2? But seeing Vegeta's constipated face, Grand Trunks did not dare to say much. For more than a month, Grand Trunks was beaten by Vegeta at least 3 times a day, and he was already scared of being beaten. What you have to consider now is the full power of Super 1, Super 2 is still far away for you. Vegeta looked at Grand Trunks disdainfully. When you really succeed in practicing the full power of Super 1, you will know that the full power form is warming up for Super 2. Vegeta doesn't plan to introduce Super 2, Super 3, Super 4 and the like later, there is no need to talk too much. The road has to be walked step by step, and the meal has to be eaten in one bite. Vegeta's patience was almost gone, and he ended the topic unilaterally. Don't punch and kick, why don't you just sit down and meditate? Maintain the appearance of a Super Saiyan and meditate. Vegeta suddenly felt that he couldn't continue talking. He really couldn't explain what kind of meditation idea. I understand, Dad, I will work hard. Trunks saw that Vegeta's face turned darker, he quickly nodded and sat down on the spot and closed his eyes. Gradually, Vegeta recognized such a cheap son, although it is somewhat due to the resonance of the blood in the body. In the following month, Vegeta also touched the threshold of Super 1 full power, and his combat effectiveness has indeed undergone tremendous changes. But it is a pity that the distance from the perfect full power is still slightly worse. At this time, Vegeta also found out, although Kakarot has been pressing the original Vegeta. But judging from the normal combat power, in fact, so far, the gap between him and Kakarot is not that big. Even he is still far ahead, but after becoming a Super Saiyan, the difference in normal combat power will be doubled after transformation. For example, normally you are 1 short, then after becoming Super 1, the gap between the two is 50. Another month passed. Vegeta finally fully grasped the full power, and the aura around him also became restrained. Vegeta set his sights on Grand Trunks, who was sitting cross-legged not far from the time room, still meditating. During this month, it is obvious that it is not only Vegeta who has improved. Vegeta hooked his lips and smiled. This kid is not considered a muddlehead. Vegeta didn't bother him to practice, turned around and went in to catch up on sleep. When Vegeta woke up, he was lured by the smell of food, and Grand Trunks was making food. Vegeta killed 2/3 of a delicious meal in an instant. Looking at Vegeta who was eating and drinking, Grand Trunks couldn't help asking. Dad, you give me a different feeling, have you reached the full power state of Super 1? Yeah, Vegeta took the time to respond. Then can you defeat Cell? Grand Trunks asked excitedly. Vegeta frowned, then chewed his food and shook his head. Shalu's full body is 35 billion, as long as he raises his energy a little, he can reach 40 billion. With full strength, he directly doubles it by 5 times, reaching 200 billion. What the current self said about defeating Cell depends on which form of Cell it is. If it is a complete Cell, it is an idiotic dream. Even if Cell is not fully recovered yet, why does he let Grand Trunks rely on himself? Why, even, his current combat effectiveness is not as good as the full power of Kakarot Super 1 that will come out of the Time House tomorrow. Although he really didn't want to admit this fact. But this is only short-lived. The full power of Super 1 is just the beginning. Next, he has to improve his normal combat effectiveness. He even wanted to become a Super 2 by himself instead of relying on the bloodline activation of the system. Seeing Vegeta shaking his head, Grand Trunks was momentarily disappointed, but immediately thought of another hope. What about Wukong? If he reaches the full power of Super 1, can he defeat Cell? Vegeta swallowed the food. narrowed his eyes slightly, and spoke coldly, "Did I say that the full power form can completely defeat Cell? Do not want to make progress, want to rely on others." That's right, in the plot of Super 2 later, this guy's strength is still at the same place as Super. Grand Trunks was a little confused. Could it be because he mentioned Monkey King again and made him angry? Feeling Vegeta's indistinct aura, Grand Trunks' body couldn't help but tremble slightly. If you only want to rely on others for everything, then you don't need to train with me. Vegeta's eyes became a little colder. In the future, you are the only soldier, so your responsibilities will be heavier. Don't you just think about coming here every day to find someone to save your world? Then what are you doing alive? Vegeta was so angry that he was so weak with his own blood flowing on his body, he should have shot him against the wall in the first place. Since he was in a bad mood, Vegeta had no desire to eat, so he walked out of the time room with Grand Trunks and beat him up. There is no need to talk nonsense, just let him know that he is a softie, let him realize the importance of being strong. He only seeks help from others, and hides behind himself. He is not worthy of being the son of a prince, so he might as well die early. If you keep doing this, you'll lose face to the Saiyans if you're alive, and you'll lose a little bit of dignity if you die. Grand Trunks was lying on the ground after being beaten, with a dazed expression on his face. In fact, Grand Trunks is not stupid. He has been living under the protection of others, but suddenly shoulders a huge responsibility one day, which makes him lost. He still wants to ask for help habitually, he has no self-confidence. Trunks, who was beaten, was lying on the ground unable to move, and Vegeta also walked to a distance to start his training to improve his normality. Time slipped away for more than half a month, and Vegeta has been in the time house for nearly 4 months. After this period of training, Vegeta can be considered to be able to completely control the full power state of Super 1, and achieve the state of sending and receiving freely. Now Vegeta's normal combat power is around 5,000 million. Vegeta didn't let the system test either. Since he intends to rely on himself, it's best to just abandon the system and not use it. Next, Vegeta intends to try to break through to Super 2 as soon as possible in the remaining time. In the plot, the first person to transform into Super 2 is Son Gohan. He is a mixed race, and he was able to become Super 2 because of extreme anger. Maybe what Nappa said is right, the Saiyan mixed blood will be much stronger than the pure Saiyan blood, but Vegeta doesn't think he is inferior. In the next 2 months, Vegeta was still stuck on Super 2, and even he couldn't find the threshold of Super 2. It seems that I still underestimate Super 2 too much. It really isn't that simple to advance. Vegeta sat cross-legged on the ground, talking to himself. In fact, Vegeta didn't get nothing. It is estimated that Kakarot must have noticed it, so he pinned his hopes on his son in the Cell game. But Vegeta searched in his mind for a long time, and he didn't have specific information about Super 2. There is no need to learn from it. Just as Vegeta was thinking hard, a gust of breath came, and Vegeta looked sideways, and it was Grand Trunks. The stinky boy has improved a bit. Vegeta smiled. Grand Trunks can be regarded as enlightened, relying on his own efforts. He also successfully stepped into the Super 1 full power state. But judging from the aura he exudes, the combat power of Grand Trunks still needs to be strengthened. It seems that the combat power in the Super 1 full power state is estimated to be about 25 billion. Chapter 91. This combat power is definitely not enough in the later stage. Vegeta doesn't know whether to let Grand Trunks go his own way, because the future Bulma will definitely create a gravity chamber. But everyone has a different personality, and the path of cultivation they choose is also different. Forget it, wait and see how it gets better later. Vegeta withdrew his thoughts, and continued to close his eyes and explore how to get to Super 2. Vegeta and Grand Trunks are practicing in the time room in full swing. Then in the outside world, everyone is suffering in dire straits. News reports from various channels appeared on the TV. Shalu, a mysterious demon, is doing evil everywhere and has brutally killed tens of thousands of people. The whole world is shrouded in terror. The island of the Turtle Fairy. Piccolo watched the news on TV and gritted his teeth. Shalu, you should stop. Do you understand what is enough is enough? Hiss. Piccolo felt that someone was watching him, and he quickly got up and walked to the window. At this moment, he widened his eyes. On the 16th, the 3 artificial humans were standing outside the house. Hello. Number 17 looked at Piccolo with his hands in his pockets and asked, "Is Monkey King here?" Piccolo was not sure whether it was good or bad to meet these artificial humans at this time. He turned around and yelled at Keelan, Yamcha and Tianjin Fan, who were sleeping soundly on the couch, "Get up, the enemy is here." "How did you find this place?" Keelan hurried out of the house. "I won't tell you," Piccolo said firmly. Number 17 smiled and then turned cold. "Don't tell us. Then hit until you tell." Wei Shanren, who was hiding by the upstairs window, poked his head out. His face was extremely heavy. "Are these artificial humans?" "Really? Then try it," Piccolo challenged viciously. "Let's go to the uninhabited island opposite." "Okay, I'm really looking for a dead end," Number 17 responded cheerfully. Piccolo turned to look at the rest of the people and said, "Don't follow, it's useless to go." Yamcha Mian turned to Tianjin Fan with hope. "Do you think Piccolo can defeat them?" "It's hard. There are 3 people on the other side." Tianjin Fan's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and he clenched his back molars tightly. A few of them could only watch silently, but they were helpless. Keelan watched Piccolo and the 3 artificial humans fly away, clenched his fists tightly. After a while, 2 of Wukong and the others will finish their training. Hold on till they come back. On an uninhabited island not far away, Number 17 rolled up his sleeves and looked at Piccolo. "If you don't say anything, I'll kill you." HMPH. It's not that easy. Piccolo took off his cloak and threw it on the ground. Brush. Piccolo vs. No. 17. The battle is about to start. Far above the temple, Sun Wukong clenched his fists. The battle has begun. "It's Piccolo." As the opponent fell, Sun Gohan asked nervously. Monkey King shook his head. "No. I can't feel chi, it should be an artificial human." "Then how is it possible?" Sun Wuhan hurried towards the edge of the temple. When he heard this, "Uncle Piccolo will die." "Gohan, you won't be able to help even if you go." Sun Wukong yelled and scolded him. "Your current level is too far from theirs, and it will only cause trouble." Sun Wufan was reprimanded by Sun Wukong for the first time. He stopped and clenched his fists tightly. "Vegeta and Trunks will succeed in training immediately." Sun Wukong quickly softened his tone and comforted him with kind words, "And now Piccolo is very powerful." And Sun Wukong looked at the clock in the time room, and saw that the time was going to be the whole day. Why hasn't Vegeta come out yet? Can't it really surpass the Saiyans? On the 17th, the battle with Piccolo was quite fierce. The 2 fought so hard that even the small island under their feet was almost wiped out. With Piccolo's powerful launch of air bombs, a magic air bomb was formed to surround No. 17. Huge explosions sounded one after another, the smoke slowly dissipated, and No 17's whole body was wrapped in the protective cover intact. "What a pity, what a pity." With the disappearance of the protective cover, Number 17 said proudly with his hands on his hips. HMPH, the wonderful things haven't started yet. Piccolo retorted, not to be outdone. "Change the venue." Number 17 pointed to the left-hand side. "Don't destroy this small island, love nature." In a bustling city, Shalu in an office building grabbed a human foot, and he suddenly turned his head to look at the sky outside the window. The old man hiding by the window widened his eyes in fright and had a myocardial infarction. This strong aura belongs to Piccolo, who is one with the god. Sharu thought for a while. He fights with such a powerful force, the opponent must be them. On the 17th, Sharu's eyes shrank suddenly, and he shouted happily, "Finally found them. The time has come. I'll come right away, wait for me." Sharu was excited. "My strength is already above them." Neither Number 17 nor Piccolo, who were engaged in a battle without distraction, noticed that Sharu was approaching quickly. "I finally waited for this day. I want to become a full body." Ha ha ha. Turtle Immortal Island. Keelan has been paying attention to Piccolo's aura. Abik is still fighting with them. Tianjin Fan shouted depressed. "It's hateful that we can only be bystanders." Yeah. Klin suddenly noticed that there was a powerful aura approaching Piccolo. "What should I do? He's here at this time." When Shishalu heard Keelan's words, he turned his head and noticed the aura. "Keelan, Bulma's phone call. She said she found a way to deal with artificial humans." Kiki, who came out of the house, shouted holding the phone. Keelan couldn't react. "That's right. There are emergency stop circuits in the bodies of number 17 and no. 18. They can be easily eliminated when they stop moving. I have already prepared the remote control. Bulma spoke excitedly on the phone, looking at the remote control in her other hand. Great. Tianjin Fan also heard Bulma's voice on the other end of the phone, and said excitedly. As long as number 17 and the others are destroyed, Cell will never be able to become a perfect body. There was no excitement on Keelan's face. Destroy them. He was suddenly a little unwilling to do this. Obviously they haven't done anything to hurt others until now on the 18th. What's the matter? Looking at Keelan, who was stunned, Tianjin Fan asked suspiciously. It's all right. Keelan, whose thoughts were interrupted, hurriedly responded. Father, Sharu has moved. Sun Wuhan on the temple looked at Sun Wukong, who was sitting cross-legged, and shouted anxiously. Why haven't you come out yet? Sun Wukong was unmoved, still struggling with Vegeta and the others not coming out of the time room. If it's too late, I'm afraid I won't be able to recover. Vegeta is indeed a genius. He should have surpassed the barrier of Super Saiyan. Sun Wukong held his chin and said to himself. The battle between Piccolo and number 17 is still going on, and Cell has already arrived in the air to watch their battle. Call, snapped. The two backed away quickly to create a distance, and number 17 looked at Piccolo proudly. Hey, although the strength is about the same, the gap in physical strength has been reflected. My energy is eternal. Piccolo, who devoted himself to the battle, only belatedly noticed another powerful aura appearing in the midair. It's Sharu. Sharu landed on the top of a rocky mountain, stepped on a raised rock with his elbows on his knees, and looked at the two people below jokingly. Shishalu. Piccolo was surprised, gritted his teeth and looked annoyed. It's broken. I was only focused on fighting and didn't notice his approach. What is that monster? Number 17 was also full of doubts. This is the first time I saw Shalu on the 17th. Piccolo turned his head in surprise and looked at number 17, who was not lying at all. He was surprised. They didn't know about Cell on number 17. Haha, today is a memorable day. Shalu's words were full of joy, because the 17th and 18th will be fully integrated with me. Shalu noticed the extra number 16. Who is he? He also has the badge of the Red Silk Army on his chest. It seems that he is also an artificial human made by Dr. Gero. Sharu snorted disdainfully. Huh. Maybe it's the old model. Ignore him. Crack, crack. As Sharu fell to the ground, he smiled and clenched 3 fingers. Hey. Ha ha ha. Following his violent anger, Piccolo stared at the countless sand and dust around Cell that was rolled up by the air waves with wide eyes. Crash, crash. Whoa. The rock mountain behind Sharu burst and collapsed, and the broken stones scattered like raindrops. Sharu calmly walked in front of Piccolo with graceful steps. Pico, how are you doing? Want to stop me? Just let the horse come. The extremely arrogant and provocative words, but Piccolo's body trembled and could not move. HMPH. Sharu sneered as it brushed against Piccolo's shoulder. Piccolo's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and even his back was wet unconsciously. How many people did you kill in order to achieve the current energy? Piccolo turned his head and asked as Sharu walked away. That is the emotion that originated from the compassion of the gods. Killed. Sharu smiled mockingly. It's their honor to be part of me. Piccolo was not the only one who felt the powerful aura of Cell. Even Keelan on Guaxianran Island had an unbelievable expression. How can that be? Shalu's power is unimaginable. Guaxian took a sip from a can of beer. It's too scary. Even the beer can't suppress the trembling in my heart. Frankly speaking, Tianjin Fan's bright head was covered with cold sweat. It's irreparable. It will be at least 10 minutes before Bulma can get the remote that stops 17. Ah, I'll fly to get it. Keelan clenched his fists and shouted, I'm flying faster than Bulma's plane at full power. Without waiting for a few people's answers, Klin has already rushed to the sky. Klin. Looking at Klin, who turned into a star in the blink of an eye, Tianjin Fan didn't want to just watch like this. I'll help Piccolo. Even if you can't help, it's better than waiting here foolishly. He clenched his fists and finished speaking to himself, then flew away quickly. Come back, Tianjin Fan. Guaxianran raised his hand to stop him, and spilled a lot of wine with a beer can. Don't go. Isn't this death for nothing? Wei Shanren angrily squeezed the can. Ah, I can't help at all right now. Tom. Wei Shanren sat on the ground weakly and sighed. Master Wu Tian is the world's #1. It's really nostalgic. Chi-Chi, who was standing at the back, raised her head to look in the direction of the temple. She muttered worriedly, Gohan. It's time to go home and do your homework. When the battle with Piccolo was interrupted, number 17 looked at Cell standing in front of him unhappily. No matter who you are, get out of here quickly. Cuckoo. Sharu didn't answer, but his tail moved behind him, and the sharp thorn head kept swaying. Number 17. He wants to kill you and absorb your life essence. Piccolo yelled hastily, run away. When Piccolo spoke, Cell's tail stabbed towards No. 17. Number 17 dodges in amazement. With Sharu's continuous attack, number 17 can only be forced to dodge continuously. Taking advantage of No 17's distraction, Shalu immediately grabbed his arm and threw it on the ground. His long tail was about to pierce No 17's body in the next second. Boom! Without even thinking about it, Piccolo went up and kicked Cell's jaw. Cell's neck was stretched by the kick, and he flew backwards. Hiss! Shalu flipped back to stabilize his figure, and fell to the ground. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, looked at Piccolo and snorted coldly, HMPH. Piccolo gritted his teeth, staring at Cell warily. Sneak attack. Number 17 next to him frowned and sneered at Shalu, you underestimate me. What's the matter with this monster trying to absorb me? Number 17 glanced at Piccolo standing next to him and asked. His name is Shalu, a monster created by Gero's computer. Piccolo quickly explained. It has not yet formed a complete body, it must absorb the energy of you and number 18 before it can be done. What? Number 18, who was watching the battle, couldn't help but speak out first. Absorbed? What kind of absorption? Brothers, you should be happy. Once you become a part of my body, we can become invincible Superman. This is the most powerful fighter that Dr. Gray has studied for many years. Shalu stretched out his hand and looked at number 17. His expression was like that of the strange sorghum who coaxed children from the next door. It's just a dream. Do you want me to be absorbed by this monster like you? Number 17 couldn't stop laughing when he heard that. He pointed his thumb at himself. The most powerful fighter is right in front of your eyes. Shalu also didn't mind bragging on the 17th. Whether you want or not, you are destined to become a part of me. Shut up. Number 17 was furious when he heard this. After a while, he will teach this monster a lesson and let him know what the result of talking big is. Number 17, run away. At this moment, number 16 suddenly shouted, the enemy's fighting power is super powerful. Sharu and number 17 turned their heads to look at number 16. We must not let him become a perfect body. Number 16 said, his goal is not Monkey King, but to destroy the entire universe. What did you think you would say? Let me run away. Number 17 squinted at number 16, and flew towards Shalu without any explanation. He felt despised, blatantly scorned. You underestimate me. Seeing that the powerful number 17 was being beaten by Cell, Piccolo hurried forward to help, but the powerful Cell beat Piccolo with just a few moves, making Piccolo extremely embarrassed. Piccolo resisted desperately, but to no avail. Seeing that number 17 and Piccolo couldn't even beat Cell, this made number 18 very depressed. She glanced at number 16 from the corner of her eye and asked, didn't number 17 and Piccolo attack with all their strength? No, number 16 replied seriously, it's Shalu who is too powerful. Number 18, run away quickly. Number 17 is always determined to go his own way. He is likely to be absorbed. If you are also absorbed, the end of the world will come. The 18th is surprised that the 16th will say something like this, then what do you do? The 16th. The joint battle between Piccolo and number 17 is still powerless because the strength is too far from Celu. Under Sharu's incomparable pride, he pulled Piccolo's embarrassing body and aimed at it to launch a Qigong wave. Tianjin Fan's eyes widened, and in disbelief, Piccolo's anger disappeared. He's dead. No 17's heart was suddenly touched. To risk his life for his escape, this guy. Why do you have to work so hard? Sun Wuhan on the temple froze, and he also noticed that Piccolo's breath had disappeared. It's too late, why hasn't Vegeta come out? Sun Wukong frowned, and his fist was clenched again. There is a reason why Vegeta in the time room has not come out for a long time. After half of the time in it, Vegeta couldn't touch the threshold of Super 2 and became increasingly irritable. One day, he suddenly saw the tail coiled around his waist. Tail. Vegeta turned his head to look at Grand Trunks, who was doing normal training, and flew into the distance. In the recent period of time, Grand Trunks' cultivation progress has also been increasing. Ever since he mastered the Super 1 full power state, Grand Trunks' strength has improved rapidly. Although it is not as good as the fighting power of Monkey King and Monkey King who came out of the time room later, as long as he is given enough time, his fighting power is also very objective. After drawing a sufficient distance, Vegeta shot an artificial moon towards the mid-air. In the past 2 months of groping for Super 2, Vegeta has not gained nothing, but it is just some insights that have no effect. If this sentiment continues, Vegeta concludes that he will not become Super 2 even if he walks out of the time room. Vegeta decided to change his mind. He didn't plan to die on Super 2, he might try the transformation of Super 4. Take a walk and the Super Saiyan transforms into a golden giant ape form. As for the sanity in the great ape form, hee. As the noble prince of the Saiyans, Vegeta has been able to maintain his clear thinking in the form of a giant ape from the moment he was born. He is not like those low-level fighters in Kakarot, who will lose consciousness after turning into a giant ape, like a wild beast. Brush. The craft of man-made moon can only be done by a small number of high-level elite Saiyans. Soon, a ball of light the size of a basketball appeared in his palm. Vegeta thought for a while, the memories of the past are a bit long. Then he threw it casually and threw the artificial moon into the sky. When the photosphere rose to a certain height, Vegeta controlled the artificial moon and let it expand rapidly. The next moment, a huge moon appeared above the white sky. Vegeta stared at the artificial moon with both eyes, and then his eyes widened. After receiving Bruce's light, his tail loosened from his waist and swayed slightly. The feeling of transforming is very strange. The memory and instinct of the body are familiar, but Vegeta still found some slight changes. This transformation has some different feelings from the memory of his previous body. At first Vegeta thought it was because he was worn into Vegeta's body and fused together. But apparently it doesn't. The giant ape form is 10 times the normal combat power. Now Vegeta's combat power is 5 million, so 10 times is 5 million. Before Vegeta continued to open his mind, sudden mania, anger, excitement, bloodthirsty tyranny emotions rushed straight to his forehead from the bottom of his heart. It seems to want to drown Vegeta's sanity. In the past, Vegeta could easily suppress the tyranny of the great ape, perhaps because the combat effectiveness was not high at that time. Compared with the past, his current strength may be a height that no one else can reach in his lifetime. Coupled with the fact that they haven't transformed into a giant ape for several years, the tyranny that erupted from this backlog is even more terrifying. HMPH, settle down for me. Vegeta clenched his fists and let out a violent roar. The giant ape that rose from the ground just stood there quietly without any movement. But if you look closely, you will find that his eyes are constantly switching back and forth between indifference and tyranny. This is a struggle between reason and negative emotions, and then Vegeta's transformed giant ape suddenly slapped his chest and roared. Whew! The momentum is so great that it can actually stir up layers of gusts of wind howling in this empty and windless place, and terrifying power erupts from Vegeta's giant ape. The next moment, Vegeta's rationality directly counterpressed the tyrannical emotions, allowing him to perfectly control the body of the great ape. What a joke! He can reach the full power of Super 1 without relying on the system. If he can't even suppress the mere wildness, it would be a shame. The first step is done. The strength of the giant ape is actually stronger than that of the human form. The combat power is indeed around 5 million as expected. But I feel that if I break out with all my strength, I can compete with the combat power of 7 or 8 million. The next step is the most critical guidance. Try to see if you can become a golden giant ape. Vegeta talked to himself, feeling the flow of energy in his body. Danger and opportunity always sum up. It's not that Vegeta doesn't know how dangerous his random decision will bring. After all, he can't even change Super 2, so he just thinks about Super 4. But Vegeta just wanted to try, and he would not give up the opportunity to become stronger because of unknown dangers. Only by becoming a golden giant ape can he have a chance to touch the threshold of Super 4. The giant ape's eyes slowly closed, and the time passed unknowingly. The high-altitude artificial moon also slowly shrunk until it dissipated over time, turning into stars and falling on the giant ape's body. 1 hour, 1 day, 10 days and half a month. Until 20 days later, Vegeta opened his eyes again, and he roared violently to the sky. Ha! Why Kakarot in the Dragon Ball world can transform so easily? The irony is that he is still in an unconscious state. Even the original Vegeta can transform successfully by relying on the machine. Why did it come to me? The fart didn't lead out. From the failure of Super 2 to the failure of the Golden Giant Ape, Vegeta has felt setbacks again and again. Could it be that my strength is not enough? Even the Super 1 full power state is impossible to transform the giant ape into a golden giant ape. Vegeta gritted his teeth tightly. He felt violent emotions crazily surging in his body, and it was the wildness of the giant ape that was at work. Ah! Vegeta roared, and the manic arrogance ignited from his body. Vegeta was almost suppressed by the tyrannical emotions and lost his mind. At this moment, Vegeta noticed a trace of golden arrogance looming on his body, and he was a little stupid. Is this? In everyone's opinion, if one wants to become a Super Saiyan, it is anger, and this is the real key point. When Sun Wukong became Super 1, it was because of Keelan's death, and when Sun Wuhan became Super 2, it happened to be the time when number 16 died. Almost all the key points of their transformations were achieved due to extreme anger. Anger, only anger can lead Saiyans to transform and draw out more powerful power. Angry, anger. The giant ape raised its huge head and roared. The arrogance on the giant ape's body burned more vigorously, and the originally looming golden color spread across the giant ape's body. The tyrannical power rolled up a powerful hurricane, and Vegeta's current combat effectiveness has far exceeded that of when he first transformed. Putting aside all distracting thoughts, Vegeta kept fantasizing about things that made him angry. Use some fantasies to drive your emotions. Vegeta is full of thoughts. Own failure, being crushed under the feet of others, betrayed by his companions, the nuclear explosion before the bones were gone. He fell down from the pinnacle altar. Not being able to become stronger, not being able to embark on the road to a stronger peak, these are things that Vegeta cannot bear. Absolutely outraged, Vegeta felt the cells in his body growing wildly. Click, as if a shackle somewhere in his body was broken. Vegeta's incarnation of the giant ape's original transparent aura changed into a golden arrogance. OWW. The pleasant roar of the giant ape suddenly resounded for hundreds of miles. The next moment, a terrifying energy emanated from Vegeta's body. The energy was so huge that Vegeta couldn't control it at all, and the energy shot randomly towards the golden giant ape's body in an instant. This huge energy made the time room a little unbearable, and the ground began to tremble slightly. Grand Trunks, who was practicing, suddenly turned his head and looked into the distance. It was Vegeta's anger, and it was so terrifying. This is Daddy's anger. He's so strong. Has he already reached Super 2? Grand Trunks widened his eyes. His expression was full of surprise. Grand Trunks didn't see Vegeta's current state at all, because in his inherent concept, maybe only Super 2 can explode such terrifying energy. The next moment, Grand Trunks was furious and flew towards the place where Vegeta was. Vegeta kept panting, trying hard to suppress the violent energy in his body. Another step was successful. Although everything was just the beginning, it also gave Vegeta a lot of confidence. The next step is the real key. As long as he takes this step, he can fly from Super 1 to Super 4. Vegeta looked at his golden giant ape hands and laughed loudly, ha ha ha. At this moment, Vegeta clearly felt that his strength had surpassed the full power combat power of Super 1. Chao 1 de 50 bei yu ju yuan de 10 bei dia jia, nabu shi 50 jia 10 de jia fa, jie shi jie de sheng bei zhang zhang ideographic period. His current combat power is at least between 200 billion and 300 billion. Change for me. Drink. Vegeta took a deep breath and drank again. He kept compressing the energy in his body. The gigantic golden giant ape's body gradually became smaller and smaller, and finally turned into a human form. Wait until the dazzling golden light has all converged and dissipated. With black and red hair, except for the head, chest and palms covered with red body hair, Super 4 Vegeta appears. Ha ah ah! Vegeta clenched his fist excitedly, raised his head and let out a long roar. Just a roar made the surrounding air pressure crackle, and the windless hurricane roared. The tremors on the ground of the time house began to become more and more intense, and even the air seemed to be shattered, because the dimensional wall was shattered by powerful energy. Even Bobo and Monkey King father and son who were in the temple felt the vibration of the temple, and a terrifying force seemed to pass through the dimension. Did Vegeta succeed? Is this terrifying power Vegeta going to come out? Monkey King stood up, staring at the entrance of the house. I'm afraid this combat power can no longer be calculated in terms of million units. Vegeta felt it a little bit and was shocked. This power, not to mention the current Sharu, even the lightning Sharu in the future, he can scare him to death with one look. According to the analysis of the data, the fourth level of Super Saiyan can increase by at least 1200 times of normal, or even more. Ah! But before Vegeta could feel it carefully, he suddenly reached out and grabbed his chest tightly. He felt as if his heart was suddenly strangled by an invisible hand. Immediately afterwards, the whole body seemed to be squeezed out of shape by something. Vegeta felt the muscles being pulled and the bones being crushed. His body couldn't bear the huge energy of Super 4, and the side effects came. The breath passed quickly, and Vegeta's whole body seemed to have just been fished out of the water, and his eyes turned black in bursts. Unable to even stand up, Vegeta sat on his knees directly on the ground. The feeling of dying at any moment filled his heart. The form of Super 4 can't be maintained, it just dissipates. Hee hee. Vegeta smiled self-deprecatingly, the price seems to be a bit high. The Super 4 form is automatically released, and the feeling of dying at any time in Vegeta's heart dissipates a little, but now he is not much different from the state of being seriously injured and dying at any time. Without a strong physical body as support, even if he successfully becomes Super 4, Vegeta's physical body has also suffered great damage. If he hadn't been training with high load in the gravity room all the time, he probably would have reported to the underworld as soon as he successfully transformed. It seems that the strength of the body is not enough at all, and the raging energy at the beginning can't be controlled at all. I guess at least I have to reach the peak of Super 2. Vegeta sat on his knees like this, thinking about it, not because he didn't want to move, but because he was seriously injured and couldn't move at all, so he was hanging in one breath. Super 4 is indeed very powerful, but now he cannot be used unless you are in a death situation. Once used, it is the posture of dying together. Even I may not have harmed the enemy, and I have only one breath left to be ground to cool down by others. It seems that only by Doubt's years of training to increase his normal strength to billions of fighting power, can he use his Super 4 freely. But soon, Vegeta felt wrong. Didn't he already wish to live forever? Why is there still such a state? Host, do you have any misunderstandings about immortality? Dragon Balunga's wish for you is immortality. Doesn't it mean that the host will not be seriously injured? What do you mean? Vegeta listened to the system's words in surprise. If it weren't for your immortality to hang your breath just now, you would have been completely cold. To make a cheesy analogy, when someone else dies, the blood gauge is 0, but you don't care if the blood gauge returns to 1 under any circumstances, just hang around and wait for the long recovery. Vegeta secretly calculated when he would go to planet Namek and destroy this Balenga. What kind of immortality is this? But if you taste it carefully, it is really immortal. Father! A hasty shout interrupted Vegeta's thoughts. Vegeta glanced out of the corner of his eye, and it was Grand Trunks flying towards him quickly. That's right, he exploded with such a powerful chi and caused such a large energy fluctuation. If Grand Trunks didn't feel it, then he would be dead. Carry me back, Vegeta ordered indifferently. It's really embarrassing to be seen by my son in such a mess. The transformation of Super 4 not only exhausted all of Vegeta's physical strength and energy, but also caused a lot of damage to his body. This made Vegeta think of Kakarot's Kaioken, which also brought powerful side effects to the body many times over. He wants to recover. Even with the strong recovery ability of Saiyans, he still needs to lie in bed for half a year. Fortunately, he asked Karen for fairy beans earlier, otherwise he would have to lie in the time room for half a year just lying down like this. I trained myself until I almost died. Really are. Now he is trying to keep himself from losing consciousness. Father, are you alright? I just felt your chi suddenly increase. Have you already broken through to Super 2? Grand Trunks carefully helped Vegeta up. Whispering, Vegeta was irritated by the question. I didn't touch the threshold of Super 2 before, and now although Super 4 is successful, the consequences are not what I can bear at present. The efforts of the past few months have all turned into bubbles. Now that Grand Trunks asked him this question, one can imagine the depression in Vegeta's heart. Go to the place where I put my things, and feed me the fairy beans. Vegeta said awkwardly. Okay, I'll help you there first. Grand Trunks supported Vegeta and flew towards the time room. Vegeta finally felt better after eating the fairy beans. But his spirit was still very sluggish. He stopped training and just lay down on the bed to sleep. The side effects of Super 4 are huge. Although Sento restores him to his heyday, Vegeta is mentally exhausted. I don't know how long I slept, but when Vegeta got up, he found that he was very energetic. And maybe because of the serious injury, his normal combat power has increased a lot, and it feels like it should be between 9 million and 1 million, so if the Super 1 full power can be around 72 billion to 80 billion. This is the only benefit of working in vain for several months. Dad, you're awake. Vegeta still wanted to feel his own changes carefully, but was suddenly interrupted by Grand Trunks' surprise voice. How long have I been asleep? Vegeta's voice was hoarse. It's been more than a month. Grand Trunks looked at Vegeta in surprise, and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Grand Trunks was very worried when he saw Vegeta go to sleep, but he didn't wake up for 3 days. If he walks out of the time room with Vegeta on his back to seek help, maybe the first thing Vegeta does after waking up is to kill him. No matter if Trunks is Vegeta's biological son or not. Going out like that is a desperate rubbing of Vegeta's dignity and face to the ground. The fearful Grand Trunks observed Vegeta non-stop for half a month, but he was really just sleeping. He felt a little more at ease. At this time, a scent came from outside, and Vegeta's stomach let out a loud cry. It's just right, Dad, come and see if my skill is better than last time. Grand Trunks said and was about to go forward to help Vegeta. Vegeta waved his hand away and stood up calmly. No, I'm fine. I've watched him eat the fairy beans, so I'm afraid there might be something wrong with him. But I'm just too excited. Why don't you catch up on sleep? The table was filled with a variety of food, which seemed to be full of color, fragrance, and taste, and a large table was already full. Vegeta knew that this was prepared in advance when Trunks realized that he was about to wake up. Vegeta sat down and silently picked up the food and began to eat. This was the second time he ate such delicious food in the time room. Grand Trunks did it both times. From this point, we can know that Grand Trunks will have a difficult life in the future, otherwise he would not have such excellent cooking skills. You know, his mother, Bulma, is the richest man in the world. If Grand Trunks had been living in such a superior environment, he would definitely not learn such meaningless things. The sweep was very clean. It was rare for Vegeta to look seriously at Grand Trunks after eating, barely able to enter. The corners of Grand Trunks' mouth raised when he heard this. Although such words were not considered a compliment, it was already the greatest recognition from his father. He knows that Vegeta is a dead duck. At the same time, after waking up from Vegeta, Grand Trunks clearly felt that his chi had become much stronger. Grand Trunks was very happy for Vegeta. Father, with your current strength, it should be easy to defeat Cell, right? Vegeta didn't answer. The aura of Super 4 was really strong before, but he couldn't easily use his trump card. Without a strong body as a support, this is overdrawing himself in advance. After I fell asleep, have you been lazy? Release your breath and let me see. Instead of answering his question, Vegeta asked about the progress of Grand Trunks' cultivation. Okay. Walking outside the time chamber, golden arrogance swept over Trunks' body, and a powerful air wave swept Vegeta's upside-down hair. Vegeta crossed his arms and looked at it. In the full power state of Super 1, he didn't seem to be lazy. He said indifferently, the strength is still a bit weak. Keep working hard. Trunks nodded, but he was in a very good mood. This is his father's unique way of caring. And during Vegeta's drowsy period, the battle outside became more and more stalemate. Sensing the disappearance of Piccolo's aura, Son Gohan roared sadly, Uncle Piccolo. It is indeed necessary to escape. Number 18 watched Piccolo's death, and said unconsciously. Number 16 nodded slightly, yes. You can definitely escape by yourself. Then what do you do? Number 18 turned to look at him. I want to defeat Cell. Number 16 said blankly, it's time to fight. Before meeting Monkey King. Number 18 disapproved and stopped it. Number 16, what are you doing? Stop, you will die. Number 16 walked towards Sharu firmly. Without Piccolo's union, number 17 had no resistance at all, and Sharu lifted his collar again. Watching Shalu's tail spike grow bigger and trying to trap number 17, number 17 was surprised and struggled to be absorbed. At this dangerous juncture, number 16 made a move. Number 17 is not very happy to team up with him, but the facts do not allow him to continue to be willful. The evenly matched number 16 and Cell fought more fiercely, so that number 17 could only watch helplessly, with no room for intervention. During the period, on the 16th, he also found the opportunity to tear off Cell's tail, but it is a pity that Cell has Piccolo's cells and also has the ability to regenerate. The powerful number 16 has been pressing down on Shalu, and in the melee, the energy he shoots sweeps the ground into a sieve. The 16th also repeatedly advised the 17th and 18th to leave quickly, and the 17th felt that he was insulted and wanted to take revenge. And number 18 feels that under the powerful energy of No. 16, Shalu has been defeated. While the three of them were talking, even Tianjin Fan felt Shalu's breath and reminded him. But it was still a step too late. Number 17 had no time to react, and was swallowed by Shalu. Cell, who absorbed number 17, immediately changed into the second stage. Number 16, who was originally evenly matched, knew that he was not his opponent at all, so he hurriedly dragged number 18 to escape. In the second form, Sharu's fighting power is stronger and faster, and he rushed to number 16 and number 18 in the blink of an eye, blocking their way. The speed is too fast. Number 16 gritted his teeth angrily, he couldn't let number 18 be absorbed. Tianjin Fan saw that No 16's fist had no effect on Shalu, and he watched silently, with cold sweat constantly rolling down his forehead. If Cell is made perfect, who else can stop it? I'm sorry, Dumpling. Tianjin Fan's nails were firmly embedded in his palm, maybe I will die. When number 18 threatened to blow himself up, Shalu used No 17's voice to confuse number 18, but the witty number 18 was not fooled. The half-empty Tianjin Fan placed his right hand on top of his left hand, the little finger of his right hand touched the index finger of his left hand, and the thumbs of both hands pressed against each other, forming a frame like this, aiming at Shalu below. New Qigong Cannon. What? He used his life to delay Sharu, and gave the seriously injured number 16 and number 18 a chance to escape. Continuously firing Qigong cannons, Tianjin Fan blocked Shalu's actions tightly. Snapped. Sharu stared wide-eyed and watched number 18 and number 16, who was seriously injured, take the opportunity to escape. Ah, what? Tianjin Fan kept firing Qigong cannons, forcibly restricting Shalu's movements, trying to delay the time as much as possible. Don't stop, Tianjin Fan. Sun Wukong on the temple roared loudly through the sky. Don't use the Qigong cannon anymore. What? Tianjin Fan restrained Shalu's body into the pit again. He slowly let go of his hands, panting continuously. In the end, his chi could no longer maintain his suspension, and he fell straight to the ground. Sand. Cell in the cave rose slowly into the air. He looked around, but number 16 and number 18 were nowhere to be seen. There was still a Tianjin Fan lying on the ground, and Shalu yelled angrily, how dare this Tianjin Fan come to ruin my good deed? Sand. After finishing speaking, Shalu pointed at Tianjin Fan's figure with one hand and wanted to launch a Qigong wave. You are dying anyway, so let me give you a lift myself. Sand. Snapped. Monkey King, who was far away on the temple, disappeared instantly, and appeared beside Tianjin Fan. Shalu was taken aback. Monkey King. You are Cell. Looking at Cell suspended in midair, Monkey King frowned tightly, with a serious expression on his face. Shalu's eyes widened. He couldn't figure out why Monkey King suddenly appeared in front of him. Even if I try my best, I'm no match for you now. Feeling Shalu's strength, Sun Wukong shouted angrily, but, give me another day. I can take care of you without breaking a sweat. Ha! Shalu was taken aback by Sun Wukong's sudden words, and then he laughed. Ha ha ha, speak wildly, you can beat me in one day. That's right. Sun Wukong had a serious expression on his face, without the slightest hint of a joke. What can you do in one day? Just as Sha Lu finished asking, he and Monkey King felt a faint breath at the same time. It's Piccolo's anger. He's not dead yet. Sun Wukong grabbed Tianjin Fan's hand as he spoke, and he said to Tianjin Fan, who was half unconscious, "Grab my hand." What? Sharu looked suspiciously. The next moment Sun Wukong pulled Tianjin Fan's arm and dragged him to the edge of the island. In an instant, he's there. Cha! Monkey King jumped to grab Piccolo, who was lying on the shore. How did he do it? In an instant. Shalu was full of puzzlement. Dr. Gero's computer did not have such information. You two hang on for a while longer, Sun Wukong said, carrying Piccolo on his shoulders to comfort the two. You will be fine when you return to the temple. There are fairy beans given by immortal Kalen. Want to slip? Sha Lu hooked his lips and smiled when he heard Sun Wukong's words, full of sarcasm. Don't think about it. Just as Sha Lu was throwing his fist forward quickly, Sun Wukong grabbed Tianjin Fan's hand and moved instantly. Sand. Brush. Sha Lu's fist waved in vain, and he hurriedly stabilized his figure. It's gone. It's amazing. So he still has this hand. Sha Lu turned his head to look around, but soon he gave up looking. I must catch the number 18 as soon as possible, and let Monkey King go first, he said to himself, passing quickly across the sea, splashing water. Number 16 is injured. They must not be able to escape far. Going to Bulma, Klin, who was holding the remote control, also managed to get something. He looked at the remote control in his hand and listened to Bulma's instructions. The remote control must be within 10 meters to work. Also, this is the battle suit that Vegeta asked me to make. I made it for everyone, by the way. You can take it with you. This should be what Wukong and the others need. Keelan nodded. They should be in the temple, or you can deliver it yourself. Okay, I'll send it off. You have to do everything you can to destroy the artificial man, Bulma asked uncertainly, as the temple on Kalen Tower. Hearing Keelan's affirmation, the two parted ways. On the temple, Piccolo, who had recovered from eating fairy beans, said to Monkey King and his son, Cell is too powerful. I don't think anyone is his match. I think so. Hearing Piccolo's affirmative words, Monkey King pursed his lips and frowned. Really? Bobo in the distance waved at Monkey King. Hey, Vegeta and Trunks are out. To be honest, Goku, aren't you worried at all that Vegeta will overtake you? Piccolo swept away from the corner of his eye, and suddenly said to Monkey King. Piccolo still hates Vegeta. This guy will always do crazy things because he is unstoppable. And go its own way, act recklessly, arrogant and complacent. There is nothing to worry about. If Vegeta can really become stronger, I will be even more excited. Goku replied without thinking. If he has a strong opponent, he will be strong when he encounters a strong one, and sooner or later he will surpass Vegeta. In the temple, the door of the spiritual time room was slowly pushed open by a hand. Grand Trunks stepped out first. At this time, his hair was tied back because of his too long hair, and his clothes and pants were in tatters. Sorry for the long wait. Grand Trunks greeted everyone politely. Vegeta, who came out after him, was not much better. He stood at the door with his arms crossed, unaware of how bad his image was. I have waited for a long time. Sun Wukong watched Grand Trunks approaching, and responded directly. Stop talking, Trunks. Vegeta breathed the fresh air and said indifferently. Vegeta, not bad. Sun Wukong also noticed the huge change in Vegeta and praised him aloud. Of course. Vegeta hooked his lips and smiled. His face was filled with extreme confidence. Although he did not achieve the goal he set for himself when he entered the time room, he wasted more than 5 months later. But at least, compared with the 10 billion before entering, it is still worth seeing. Now his normal combat power is close to 1 million, and in the Super 1 full power state, it is also about 80 billion. I don't think it doesn't matter if you get into the special training or not, let alone me, even Trunks can kill Cell and the artificial man alone. After Vegeta finished speaking, he looked at everyone with contempt. What? Piccolo looked at Vegeta in surprise. Doesn't this guy know how powerful Cell is? Is this talking big? I saw Cell who absorbed number 17 just now. He is simply a terrifying monster. Monkey King hurriedly made a sound, wanting to tell Vegetasharu that he has become stronger again. Hi, you are all here. Bulma, who arrived at the temple at this time, got off the plane and saw everyone gathered together to say hello. Aunt Bulma. Sun Wuhan turned his head and greeted politely. Bulma, how do you know we're here? Sun Wukong looked at Bulma familiarly. Krillin said, he said you were all here. Bulma replied, and soon he noticed Grand Trunks standing behind Sun Wukong. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Bulma stared at Grand Trunks, who followed behind with wide eyes in surprise. Trunks, is that you? It's me, Grand Trunks replied with a puzzled face. The next moment he understood Bulma's doubts and quickly explained. There is a very magical room here, a year in it is just a day outside. My father and I practice there. Huh, Bulma didn't quite understand, but turned to look at Vegeta and asked, pointing at his hair, but why is Vegeta's hair still the same as before? The hair of a pure-blooded Saiyan will never change, Vegeta said proudly with his arms folded. Oh, Bulma nodded with a long voice. No wonder my hair is too. Sun Wukong also stroked his hair belatedly. What are you talking about? Now is not the time to chat. Vegeta felt uncomfortable. Why should these guys care about such trivial things? And what is this woman running around doing? Don't you know it's dangerous outside now? Who takes care of his children when he dies? The future is useless, and the small ones must be started from an early age. Vegeta looked at Bulma with a full reprimand. Bulma, what are you doing here? Oh, the battle suit you want is ready, it has a strong defense. Watching Bulma open the small box to get the capsule, Vegeta was a little lost. He himself had forgotten such a trivial matter, but this woman Bulma actually remembered it and sent it here specially. Vegeta somewhat regretted his reproach words just now, but the words were all spoken. Vegeta had to look away awkwardly, only to hear Bulma's last sentence. And I made a set for each of you. Boom. As soon as Bulma pressed the capsule and threw it out, a huge box appeared. Sun Wukong immediately stepped forward to open the box, holding the protective suit and looking at it curiously. Oh. It's so light. The last time I wore this was when I was on Namek. Son Gohan took off his clothes and changed, full of nostalgia. Vegeta didn't know how to describe his complicated mood, so he just ignored it. Seeing that Sun Wukong and his son and Grand Trunks were about to change their clothes, he hurried forward to get the clothes. This is what he asked Bulma to prepare. How could he end up with nothing to wear? Don't you want it? Bulma looked at Tianjin Fan and Piccolo and asked suspiciously. I don't wear Saiyan clothes. Piccolo squinted at the people changing clothes over there. He is not a Saiyan. Why care about those? Sun Wukong patted his chest with gloves on, and said how he felt wearing the clothes. It's very light and flexible. HMPH. Vegeta couldn't help but hum after all. He asked Bulma to make him a protective suit, but he didn't say that everyone needs to share. Depend on. It's enough to fight Cell, Trunks. Vegeta looked at Monkey King with disdain. Grand Trunks currently has a Super 1 full power of at least 30 billion, and Cell, which absorbs number 17, is only 15 billion. He felt that a Trunks was overqualified. Do you think Cell can be dealt with? Sun Wukong turned his head to look at Grand Trunks, and put his eyes on Vegeta. If it is true, that would be great. HMPH, Trunks, let's go. Vegeta snorted disdainfully, turned and said to Grand Trunks. I'll send you there with teleportation. Monkey King didn't mind Vegeta's attitude either. Stop showing off. I don't need your help. Vegeta gave a disdainful expression. When Cell is defeated, he will find a time to make a wish with Shenlong for teleportation, and it is more advanced than Monkey King's. Hey bah, smelly show off. Also, he was the one who reminded Kakarot of his teleportation. Hey, it's still so strong. Bulma shook her head helplessly with her hands on her hips. She is the only one who can stand people like Vegeta. Vegeta always felt that Monkey King looked down on them. But he couldn't find evidence for the words of concern for Grand Trunks. Understood. Thank you, you should work hard to cultivate. Grand Trunks greeted politely with a happy face. Vegeta frowned, really couldn't listen anymore. Those who didn't know thought Grand Trunks was Kakarot's son. HMPH. Vegeta snorted again and flew away under the doubts of everyone. Vegeta's temper. Except for Bulma, the rest looked at each other. Come back alive. Bulma shook her head thoughtlessly, and then told Grand Trunks, "I'll wait." Grand Trunks waved his hand at the crowd, and he also swooped down towards the temple. "Come on, Gohan." Sun Wukong looked at Sun Wuhan behind him and clenched his fists. "Now it's our father and son's turn to practice." "Okay." Sun Gohan nodded. "What is Sharu doing now?" "Of course, they are still flying low near the island, looking for number 18 who is hiding and number 16 who is seriously injured." Shalu wandered around for a long time without seeing number 18, so he took a deep breath and screamed heart-piercingly. "Number 18, get out quickly. Otherwise, I will destroy these islands one by one. Don't think I'm afraid. You think I won't destroy you just because I want to become a perfect body? You were wrong. Although I really want to become a perfect body, but now I am invincible." The townspeople on the nearby island covered their ears one after another, and some puzzled people started discussing it. "What's that sound? It's so deafening. It seems to have come from far away in the sky. Ignorant people do not know how close death is to them." On a small island somewhere, number 18 looked in the air in surprise and sighed, "What a disgusting guy." "Don't worry, number 18, he's just scaring us." Number 16 comforted us, "He won't give up on becoming a perfect body." Vegeta and Grand Trunks are heading towards Cell at high speed. Get out, get out." Seeing that his threat was useless, Shalu yelled angrily. "Then start with this island." Sharu set his sights on a town on an island. "Is that the thing that made the loud noise just now?" A man with a straw hat and sharp eyes pointed to the sky. Men and women looked at the sky. "What? It's floating in midair." An ignorant child took out the telescope from his school bag. "Ah, it's a devil," the old man suddenly exclaimed. "Sand." Sharu stretched out his hand to aim at the island, and as he released an air bomb, the people in the small town below seemed to see a huge ball of light as dazzling as the sun land. In an instant, the ball of light engulfed the island, the surrounding sea water boiled, and the roaring hurricane brought countless gravel and water splashes. Sharu watched indifferently, and the stones flying high into the sky fell to the sea surface mixed with raindrops. Until the sea is calm, it seems that there has never been an island in the original place. There is no .18 on this island, why don't you get out? In that case, then you and the small island where you are hiding will die together. Sharu continued to stretch out his hand and fired the air bomb towards the nearby island. The suspended number 18 stared blankly at the small island in the distance, disappearing under Sharu's bombing. When she regained her senses, she quickly turned her head to look at number 16 leaning against the edge of the rock. "What should I do?" On the 16th, he really did it. "Don't worry, Sharu's attack won't kill you, so he won't give up absorbing you," number 16 said calmly without panicking. Number 18 obviously still couldn't let go. He looked down at number 16 and continued to ask, "Even if I can escape, what about you?" Number 16 was silent, not knowing what he was thinking, and did not answer no 18's question. The two of them are destined to sacrifice one. It seems to be taking action. Grand Trunks, who was flying quickly in midair, felt Sharu's anger and said to himself, "Could it be that they are fighting? Is it with number 18? Vegeta smiled and appeared in front of Cell in an instant. What a challenging battle. The nearby small islands were almost destroyed by Sharu, and there were only 2 or 3 small islands left, and Sharu reached out and aimed at the small islands where number 16 and number 18 were hiding. Just when number 18 crossed his hands to protect himself, Vegeta moved in front of Cell at a high speed, and there was a slight difference between them face to face. "You are Vegeta." Cell's eyes widened. "Yeah, you are that little insect Cell." Vegeta ordered with a sneer, "Follow me." On the 18th, it was too late to wait for the bombing, and when he looked up, he saw Vegeta and Cell falling near the small island where he was. Despair. "It's Vegeta." Number 18 turned to look. "Why are you here?" Cell looked at Vegeta and smiled disdainfully. "Don't tell me you're here to defeat me." "My purpose is not to defeat you." Before Vegeta finished his arrogant words, a systematic voice appeared in his mind. The system issued a mission. The host helped Cell to become a perfect body, and rewarded Super Saiyan 2 bloodline activation 95%. HMPH. This system made a noise at this time. Who cares about such a mission? He has already decided to rely on himself. Vegeta smiled secretly. It seems that his estimate is similar to the system's exact combat power. HMPH, since you didn't come to knock me down, what are you doing here? Seeing that Vegeta hadn't spoken for a long time, Sharu yelled dissatisfied. My cells are being used by an ugly guy like you. I'm here to tell you that you need to get the owner's permission before using other people's things. Vegeta snorted coldly. At this moment, Grand Trunks also flew over, and he fell to the ground. Despair. Okay, Trunks, destroy him and leave him with no bones left. Vegeta squinted at Big Trunks behind him. Here comes another one. Sharu's eyes also fell on Grand Trunks, his face was full of ridicule. It doesn't matter how many you come. Do you go together or take turns? Hearing Cell's proud words, Vegeta spoke calmly. You really think highly of yourself. You don't even need me to take action. To deal with you, one Trunks is enough. Haha, just him. Shalu laughed loudly. With his little combat power, you still want me to die? Do you have a problem with me? Grand Trunks walked slowly towards Sharu, standing opposite him. No problem, I just think Vegeta's words are too stupid. Sharu laughed sarcastically. Shalu is right, that kid's strength is really not high. Number 18 hid behind a tree and watched. The next moment, she turned her head to look at number 16 behind another tree and suggested, Number 16, we can just take this opportunity to escape. Don't worry, we'll leave when they fight. Number 16 said steadily. However, I think Vegeta and that kid who doesn't know the name are hiding their fighting power. Number 18 was a little unconvinced. No way, how could it be possible to improve so much in such a short period of time? She has seen the battle between Vegeta and number 17, and it has only been a few days now. No matter how much progress she has made, she will not be so strong. Shalu, get ready. Grand Trunks took a step forward. Hey, Sharu didn't take Grand Trunks seriously at all. Ha. Grand Trunks was furious, his bangs swayed without wind, and as he turned yellow, his tail stood up, and powerful yellow flames emanated from his body. The gas flame rolled up the air current, blowing away the surrounding gravel. The battle has begun. Piccolo and Tianjin Fan, who were far away on the temple, also felt the breath of Grand Trunks. Sun Wukong and Sun Wufan have entered the time room and started to practice. Qi is increasing rapidly, Tianjin Fan exclaimed in surprise, very amazing Qi. Cha. The cloak on Piccolo, who was walking towards the edge of the temple, suddenly appeared, and he looked down the edge. Let me see how far you have reached after a year of cultivation. Can Vegeta and the others really exert power beyond Super Saiyan? Drink ah. And as Grand Trunks roared, his aura continued to increase. Piccolo looked down in surprise, it continues to increase. Grand Trunks Super 1 full power. Vegeta smiled, his face full of satisfaction, not bad. This son was taught very successfully by himself. Seeing the terrifying aura of Grand Trunks, whom he had just looked down upon, Sharu was so surprised that he opened his mouth slightly. Under Sharu's shocked expression, Grand Trunks moved. He directly punched Sharu's jaw with a right hook. Sharu was frozen by the punch and flew backwards. Boom. Sharu flew upside down and drew dozens of meters on the ground before barely stopping. His stiff hand touched his mouth, and blood overflowed from his mouth. Brush. Cell jumped up, gritted his teeth and looked at Grand Trunks. Grand Trunks said confidently, you have to take it seriously, Sharu. Hee. The skill is not bad. Sharu said with a half smile, extending his arms towards the face of Grand Trunks. Grand Trunks turned his head to avoid Sharu's fist. With a clap of his left hand, he grabbed Sharu's arm and threw it towards the ground forcefully. Sharu was slammed to the ground, and he quickly knelt on the ground with one hand on the ground and turned his head to look at Grand Trunks. At this moment, Grand Trunks was already waiting with bowed feet, and Sharu, who kicked with one kick, slammed into the rocky mountain. The rocky hills were smashed by Sharu, and they rolled down from above, burying Sharu, who fell to the ground. After getting the remote control given by Bulma, Keelan was still flying in midair, and he could feel the breath from a distance. I see. That's why Trunks' Chi is stronger than Cell's. Could it be that what Wukong said, the result of cultivation in the place where 1 day is equal to 1 year, is this the result? Keelan reacted and accelerated his flying speed. We must go and see. Wow. Shalu struggled to sit up from the pile of rubble. He roared angrily, ah. After absorbing number 17, he hasn't been beaten so badly. I can't believe it. How is it possible? Number 18 mumbled dully. She knows the strength of Grand Trunks very well. He was no match for her that day. The guy who was kicked by number 17 can fly away, but now he is pressing and absorbing Celu after no. 17. Number 16 also sighed in disbelief, it's so surprising. HMPH. Shalu struggled against the edge of the rock, looking angrily at Grand Trunks who flew down in front of him. You are forcing me to take action. Sharu, surrender as soon as possible. Grand Trunks clenched his fists and looked at Sharu seriously. Hey, it's ridiculous. Shalu bowed his legs and clenched his fists, shouting violently. Ah, hey ya. As Sharu roared one after another, the arrogance on his body began to burn, and his muscles bulged and became bigger and stronger. The surrounding gravel was rolled up by his arrogance and then shattered into countless small pieces and flew towards the surroundings. Has the combat power improved again? Grand Trunks said indifferently, but this still can't defeat me. Klin, who had just arrived in midair, was very surprised watching the battle between Grand Trunks and Cell. It's Trunks. The opponent should be Cell. It was also the first time he saw Cell after absorbing number 17, and his appearance was very close to that of a human. Shalu is a different person from before. Could it be that he has become a complete body? Keelan watched the two fight, his whole body trembling. He looked at the remote control in his hand and was a little discouraged. The remote control that I have worked so hard to make is no longer usable. Sharu leapt angrily and punched Grand Trunks on the cheek. Grand Trunks dodged and jumped up. One blow failed. Sharu swung his tail at the jumping Grand Trunks in the next moment, and Grand Trunks flew up indifferently. Do you think you are very powerful? Sharu roared angrily, and flew up to chase after him. Grand Trunks watched him quickly pull into the distance, and suddenly turned around and swept towards the approaching Sharu, who was kicked directly into the sky. Grand Trunks rushed up quickly, jumped behind Sharu, crossed his hands and hit Sharu with a heavy hammer and fell towards the ground again. Ah! Sharu's eyes were widened by the blow, his eye sockets were filled with bloodshot eyes, and he fell into the sea with a scream. Ah! It's unbelievable. Klin opened his mouth wide open. Is this still the Trunks he knows? Has become so powerful. Standing over there is Vegeta. The aura on his body is even more terrifying. Keelan looked at it, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. Why didn't you see Goku and Gohan? Krillin looked around the island. Why didn't they come? His words stopped suddenly, his pupils shrank suddenly, and Keelan saw that number 16 and number 18 were hiding in a wood beside a rock. It's a man-made man. He and the others are here too. Keelan stared blankly at himself, and his whole body trembled violently. What's going on? Didn't Cell, Vegeta and Trunks find out? Keelan looked at the remote control in his right hand and swallowed hard. He thought of what Bulma said, that it only works within 10 meters. Okay. Keelan held the remote control with both hands, and put on a posture of a strong man who will never return, so that he can move forward bravely. Whoosh! Keelan quietly landed on the small island, holding back his breath and lurking towards No. 18. Puff, puff, puff. As he cautiously approached No. 18, Keelan's heart beat more violently, and he secretly thought about it. There is still one cyborg alive, which means that Cell has not yet become a perfect body, and only absorbed number 17, and Cell has become so powerful. Be sure to stop Cell from becoming perfect. Whoa! Shalu, who was hit into the sea, suddenly put his hand on the rock beside the island. He jumped out of the sea panting and looked at Grand Trunks standing on the top of the rock. Hoo-hoo! Sharu panted heavily, and looked at Grand Trunks angrily. He couldn't beat this kid, just a brat. Can't hold on so soon. Vegeta, who was standing next to him with his arms crossed, sneered, does Trunks' strength surprise you? You know, my strength is many times stronger than his. Sharu turned his head to look at Vegeta who was mocking him, speechless. It seems that you are going to die. Vegeta gloated. Let me see you on your way. Cell. Grand Trunks looked at Cell seriously, planning to deliver the final blow. It is unimaginable that he has achieved such a great achievement after practicing with his father for a year. It is simply easy for him to kill Shalu now. Hearing this, Sharu pounded the air with his angry hands. If I can become a perfect body. He clenched his fists tightly, gnashing his teeth angrily, just you two guys. Vegeta frowned, and the system beeped again in his mind. The system issued a task. the host helped Cell to make it a perfect body, and rewarded 95% of the activation of the Super Saiyan network. Host, please complete your task. Ha, get out and play in the mud, I don't care for your reward. Vegeta said disdainfully in his heart. Grand Trunks stretched out his hand and aimed at Cell, who was still screaming wildly. On the other side, Keelan, who was still sneaking towards number 18, was calculating the distance, within 10 meters, within 10 meters. HMPH, you'll never have the chance to transform into a full body. Grand Trunks concentrated his energy after speaking, and launched a pulsar crash at Cell with both arms. Sharu wanted to dodge, but he couldn't dodge that powerful and fast Qigong wave. Being hit by the Qigong wave, Shalu stretched out his hands to try to carry it, but was hit by the shock wave, knocked back through several rocky mountains, and disappeared in the light of the Qigong wave. Seeing Shalu's figure being enveloped by the Qigong wave, number 18 was dumbfounded. Did he hide his strength back then? When we met a few days ago, this kid was deliberately hiding his clumsiness, so he was kicked away by No. 17. No, back then he didn't have such a strong combat power. Number 16 directly rejected her idea. Something must have happened in the past few days. Keelan was still slowly approaching calmly. When he saw two people talking about being distracted from under a tree, he quickly moved closer and hid behind a rock. Sand. Feeling that the distance is almost enough to be within 10 meters, Keelan looked at the remote control held in both hands, and looked at the big red button in the middle. He poked his head out to look at the beautiful face of number 18 again, recalling that these artificial humans didn't seem to have done anything harmful. Father, I defeated Cell. Grand Trunks turned his head to look at Vegeta, with a hint of exaggeration in his expression. Hey, Vegeta looked at Grand Trunks contemptuously. Based on the results of your cultivation, you can defeat him faster. Grand Trunks took Vegeta as a compliment, and he returned to Super Saiyan form. Vegeta turned his head and looked around the corners. According to the plot, number 18 and number 16 are also on this island. Keelan's hand holding the remote control was trembling. He was undecided, and finally he thought of the kiss on the 18th, and he threw down the remote control feebly. The sound quickly startled number 18, who turned his head to look and said in surprise, "It's you." Soon number 18 noticed something that made a sound just now, and she glanced at the remote control, shocked. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.